Two screens, two different views. That's what we're all about. Welcome to Dual Screen Radio, where listening is good.
This is Shane R. Monroe.
This is Chris Henschel.
And welcome to a belated edition of Dual Screen Radio. Life has been incredibly complicated for both Chris and myself. We're also on now a 3-hour time difference thanks to daylight savings time. So we are doing the best we can, and we do apologize. And I know Chris himself has been really busy, too, with a brand new car, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it only takes up a few days, but I just had some neck problems and some other things. It's just, it's been nutty trying to get our schedules together, basically.
Yeah, it's crazy. I had, my family was on spring break, which means all my time was dominated last week. I've got my folks down here helping me build my house. It's absolutely insane trying to get time put together for this. I mean, we're both dying and chomping at the bit to talk about stuff, and so much has happened. Just crazy. So
hopefully we'll get back up to speed now.
Yeah, worst case scenario, we'll release back-to-back shows for a couple weeks just to get us all caught up, because literally there is so much to talk about. It's just unbelievable.
The DS world is exploding.
It is, literally, like blowing up in your face. It's like holding a firecracker between your fingers. It's unbelievable. The Game Developer Conference happened, and that just fired off all sorts of good stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We have a cool new editorial commentary for you this month, or this episode. Boy, retro gaming radio habits die hard, don't they? This episode, we got a great editorial. We're going to talk about puzzle gaming on the DS and how you can make the best selections and the best choices. And we talk sort of about different types of puzzle gaming. We're going to have, of course, several different reviews here for you. We're going to look at the coming attractions and what's out now, and just give you an idea what we like and what our choices are. The Venerable Touch and Go segment, we got tons of stuff to talk about, and we're going to tell you about all the cool new stuff on the website, all this and more. Very exciting.
Oh, super exciting, and it's finally, we're able to get this out, hopefully.
Yeah, let's hope.
In the meantime, I don't want everybody to think that our delay is because of Tetris or Metroid Prime Hunters, because although those games have factored into a point, but it's not the whole reason why we're late.
Yeah, that's actually, that's the cool thing. Everyone says, well, I played Tetris DS when it was called TetrisNet back like 5 years ago. And it's like, you know what? You can't play TetrisNet comfortably sitting on the crapper. You can't play Tetris. TetrisNet at your local McDonald's. You can't play it when you're on the run. It's just...
Or in the car.
People really downplay the concept that it's on a handheld. I think that's the thing. It's like, well, we've played Tetris a million times already. Why should we, throw more money after, Tetris DS? And it's like, you know what? Because it's different. I mean, there's all these different modes. Well, we'll save it for our Tetris review.
Well, not only that, but I mean, why would you not even dare put money down for what could possibly be the best version of Tetris ever released?
Yeah, I akin Tetris DS to Mario Kart DS. To me, Mario Kart DS managed to take the best of every different version of Mario Kart and wrap it into one beautiful, portable online package, and that's exactly what Tetris did.
It's a little greatest hits version of it. Yeah.
That's right, greatest hits version. There you go. I think we'll adopt that, greatest hits version. That's good. Well, speaking of puzzle games, this month our editorial commentary, this episode, man, I am never going to get used to doing that. This episode's editorial commentary is about intelligent puzzle gaming on the DS. A lot of people, I think, miss out or get really frustrated with puzzle gaming on the DS because they don't understand that, unlike the PC where pretty much every puzzle game is designed to be pick up and play, like Bejeweled or Zuma, there's a lot of things that are, how would you say it, Chris? They're designed to not require any thought or extra effort.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that you just get in there and like within 5 seconds you know what you're doing, and that's what basically hooks you and gets you more addicted and able to just play, better access. And something like Bejeweled, it's instantly you pick it up and you know what you got to do. You got your simple rule and you're set.
Sometimes it's more about luck than about skill. It all depends on what jewels fall. It all depends on...
Yeah.
It all depends a lot on the layout and a lot on luck. There's not as much skill involved. Where almost every puzzle game has some element of luck. Some have a little more elements of luck than others. And the same thing goes for Tetris and some of the other more simplex type of puzzle games. And the DS has almost all the different genres of puzzle gaming all are on the DS. The pick-up-and-go gaming, the strategic puzzlers, and then you've got these sort of hybrids in between. And we're going to look at some of these on the DS and hopefully make sure that you get the puzzle gaming that you're interested in. Now, I know, Chris, you're kind of more into the pick-up-and-go games, right? You'd rather...
Yeah, I want something that's easy to just say, hey, I understand how to play this. This is simple. Let me pick it up. And that way it kills a few minutes of your time, maybe 10, 15 minutes, or in Tetris's case, maybe an hour. But,
yeah.
I know some of these games, what's great about the DS now is it's really gotten a really big variety of different puzzle gaming, types of puzzle gaming. And obviously it's one of the things that I think it's made for. But some of these games, I know, like Medios, for instance, or Pokemon Chose, they add a little bit of an extra element that I think maybe complicates it a little more. They're not as simple to pick up and know instantly what you do. Right off the bat, both games have a tutorial to get you through how to play the game. Now, sure, Tetris has a tutorial, and even Puzzle Loop has a tutorial, but you're not forced to sit and watch it because, in my opinion, that's the nature of the game. It's just easy to pick up. I know my father still doesn't really completely understand Medios.
That's
what I'm kind of thinking about.
Yeah.
So I happen to like Medios. It took me a second, but I had a lot of fun with that. That was one of the first puzzle games released on the DS. It's been now almost a year now. I got really far in it. It's one of those games where you can actually get to a certain level of unlocking all these extra bonuses and worlds and types of... I don't know what you want to call them. The game's comprised of all these little aliens and different planets with types of gravity and so forth. You can unlock these things, and it really extends the play value of the game. But at the same time, it's not a game that's like Tetris that... Tetris has been around for almost, 20 years now?
Yeah,
and
like
the game,
1988.
Yeah, and the game is the same game, other than a few new little features, like being able to see 6 pieces in advance, or the hold feature, which is new on the Nintendo DS version. But otherwise, the same mechanics of the game have not changed. And everybody knows how to play.
Everybody knows how to play Tetris.
Everybody knows how to play Tetris. So, it's easy to just pick up and go, and that's the best feature, I think, about a puzzle game there is.
Yeah, and, we have a couple of these kind of pick-up-and-go games on the DS. Tetris, of course, is one of them. And I've actually, and I'm going to talk about this in our Tetris review, I've actually learned there's a deeper level to Tetris that I didn't really realize until I started aggressively playing people online. And I'm going to save that as a little teaser, because I have learned some interesting stuff. It's a little more like Medios than I originally thought. But also Zookeeper, which is, your straight Bejeweled knockoff.
Right, I wanted to bring up Zookeeper because it really is basically just a clone of Bejeweled.
And wasn't Bejeweled a clone of something else before it was even Bejeweled?
Oh, I'm sure it was. I mean, it was a PopCap game, and we know PopCap isn't exactly prone for original ideas, So, yeah, innovation.
Much so those are your kind of... Go ahead.
The Zuma debacle with Puzzle Loop.
Yeah, exactly. How long do we get to call it Puzzle Loop before we have to start calling it Magnetica?
I don't know.
Call it Puzzle Loop forever, and people are just going to have to understand, or what? Because I don't know how I can get through Magnetica, dude.
Yeah, I think the people in our show are pretty much set now, or hardwired to the fact that we're calling the game Puzzle Loop. I think they've just accepted that. Maybe if we don't say Magnetica, or we just let them know once that Magnetica equals Puzzle Loop, we'll be fine. I personally prefer Puzzle Loop.
Me too. I don't know. Magnetica.
A little easier to flow out of the lips too.
It is. It doesn't sound like a made-up word, Okay, it is a made-up word, but it doesn't sound like a made-up word. Okay, so that's sort of the pick-up-and-go games. We do have some of those available on the DS, of course. And then we also have what I call the strategic puzzlers. These are games you will throw your hands up in frustration if you don't learn somewhat intricate mechanics of the game. And the best example of this, of course, as we've already mentioned, is Medios. It's not something you can throw in front of somebody and expect them to pick up right away, which is kind of depressing because you're always looking for more buddies to throw down Medios with, but you can't. I mean, you have to sit there and say, okay, you can only move up and down. You have to make 3 in a row. They seem to understand that, but then when you throw in the gravity and you throw in launching and how things have to take off, it's just like people just
it's overwhelming.
They tune out. I watch their eyes glaze over as I try to explain it to them. And that's too bad because, Medios is obvious, hands down probably the number 1 or 2, maybe behind Tetris, puzzle game on the DS. And it's really sad that I know people personally that have said, I played the Medios demo and I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't watch the tutorial. They didn't read the book. They just wanted to pick it up because it had falling blocks and just assume that they knew what the hell was going on. And if you're not willing to read or if you're not willing to learn some strategies, Medios isn't for you.
And you know what else? I think right now, and a lot of people in the conscious and their subconscious, they pick up a puzzle game, especially Medios, and the first thing they're thinking of is Tetris.
Right. So it's falling blocks.
Right. They're trying to take the nature of Tetris and push that into that new game like Medios. So right off the bat, they're thinking, we got blocks falling, and you probably need to make a row across, and they disappear, but that's the problem. They're getting hit over the head by saying, no, this is what you do, and this is totally different, and I think it really throws them off.
That's too bad.
Oh, it definitely is. Because, like you said, you don't have as many people you can play with. I've very rarely played Medios multiplayer.
Yeah, we played a lot at work. That was our absolute favorite throwdown game before Mario Kart came along.
Yeah.
So we had 3 people Medios battles going on, and it was great. I mean, one of the guys at work, he's a Mormon, so I don't think he has a lot of free time. I don't think he has anything but free time. Rather, I don't think he does anything. He got a huge family. He's always, strapped to the house. They never go anywhere. Dude, this guy throws down a lot. I mean, he's already better than me at Tetris. He was better than me at Medios. He's better than me at Mario Kart. And you're thinking, man, why is this guy beating the living crap out of me? Then you find out when you talk to him that that's all he's been doing is playing 5-minute mission modes on Medios. Like, well, no kidding, you're better than I am. That's all he does. I threw down Tetris for 7 hours yesterday. It's like, dude. Of course he's better than me, but he's a total slut for these type of games. The Medios, the Tetris, and he's beginning to Puyo Pop as well as Puzzle Loop, and that brings us to yet another kind of a version of puzzling or a genre of puzzling on the DS is what I call the hybrid game. It is a game that is easy to pick up. You can immediately understand what you're supposed to do, and the average person can drag the stylus around and actually get something done. But the second he goes head-to-head against somebody else, or the second he gets past the first couple of training levels, he quickly realizes that this game is not just a Bejeweled or a pick-up-and-go game. It's got those elements, but it's also got an unbelievable layer of strategy underneath it. And I cite my favorite probably for that is Puyo Pop Fever. Anybody can figure out that they need how to pop the Puyo Pops. But you try to make them understand the fever bar, and it goes right over their heads.
Yeah,
Their eyes start glazing over, and it's like, and what's funny is they want to know, but they won't listen to you. Yeah. It's like, how come you got that fever again? How come I never get the fever? Listen, I'm going to explain it again. Okay, you see that little bar, and you go through the whole bit with them. And it's like it's that layer of complexity that goes just above and beyond the pick up and go. And if you're not willing to adopt that, you're going to get a little ways in the game. You're going to find it enjoyable to play alone. But as soon as you pick up and go with another player, as soon as you get to the higher levels, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah, I think originally when Puyo Pop came out, that was actually my substitute for the lack of Tetris on the DS.
Oh, absolutely.
It was a really good pick-up-and-go type of game. I mean, there's really nothing to it. You get a couple different colors of the same blobs together, they disappear. It's really a simple mechanic behind it. And I think between that and Zookeeper, which is basically the same idea, you line up so many of the same color, they disappear. Or I guess Medios to a degree. But Puyo Pop was just great because mainly for the fact that you could have, wasn't it like 8 people at one time?
Yeah, you
or
could have.
Or was it actually 10?
I think it was 4 or 8. I think it was 8.
I know it was.
Sure.
Oh no, it was 8. I know it was 8. I just couldn't remember if it was 8 or 10. You could actually do 8 people on a single cart. I mean, at the time, that was unheard of. That was
absolutely, and it's great. I mean, it's
such a great value there. I mean, and so much gameplay fun, and everybody in the room can play Puyo Pop.
Absolutely, and the same thing, of course, goes with Tetris, where you get one guy with the card and everybody's
having fun,
throwing down. It's great.
Yeah. Nobody's left out.
And and like games like Puzzle Loop and Pokemon Troizea, I personally throw into the hybrid category because Puzzle Loop is one of those games where you can just randomly start throwing marbles, make your three marbles in a row, and just start popping things. But as you get higher up in the levels, or as you're playing multiplayer and you're getting the unbreakable, gray balls, for lack of a better word. As you get higher up, there is an underlying strategy that you have to follow if you plan on surviving the higher levels, or especially if you're playing somebody who's really good. You will have to learn what I call the divide and conquer approach to closing out or clearing out those gray balls. Because you have to pop balls next to the gray balls in order to get the gray balls to go. Well, you can do that on a one-on-one basis, but there's a strategy involved where you can split the gray balls up into smaller segments to take them out. And those are the sort of things that your average pick-up-and-go Tetris Zookeeper player, they're not going to think about that. They may or may not pick up on it. They're not going to go up and read a strategy guide on Puzzle Loop to try to figure out how to become more competitive. And I think that the best values in these sort of games are the hybrid titles, because you can pick them up, you can let other people borrow them, and they can get some sort of enjoyment out of it. But then when you get into multiplayer, I think that multiplayer hybrid and more strategic puzzle gaming is really where it's at. Tetris is fun, don't get me wrong, but a good Medios throwdown, it will make you think. It will really keep you on your toes. Tetris is more a matter of, in some cases a little bit of luck, in some cases, being able to change out your hold piece just right. In terms of like Medios, you really got to have it on the ball.
Everything's
especially
just
if you're playing
happening so
Heaven
much
Door.
faster. There's just a faster rate of gameplay going on with Medios.
It's insane.
Tetris, I know in Tetris my strategy has really never changed. Ever since the original Game Boy, I always developed a strategy ever since that Game Boy that I still use now. That I just want. I don't know if I should be mentioning it, but
yeah, you better not. These guys in the World Wide will kick your ass.
But it's the same strategy, and I'm always using it, and it's more or less works, but sometimes it doesn't. I know last night I was a little cold when I was playing online a little bit. I started out pretty rough, 3 matches down, I was losing, and next thing I know, I won 5 in a row. So it's definitely a give or take situation with that strategy.
Yeah, and with Tetris, a lot of times too, you make one mistake and it's over. That's what
Exactly.
And
yes.
that frustrates me a little bit. If you make one mistake, it can literally take you, 12 more drops to fix it.
Yep. You got to repair the damage.
Yeah, damage control. And with Medios, you can really repair the damage quickly. As soon as you identify what's going on, you can get right in there and fix it. But again, there's a thought process of priorities. There's a thought process about damage control. And I think that the best value, Zookeeper, we played in the house for about 2 weeks straight. My wife and I played 2 players. My kid and I played 2 players. I played solo for a little while. I played a handful of the mission mode. And it's like, okay, I'm pretty much done. But with Tetris, I guarantee you in a year I'm still going to be playing Tetris. In a year I'm still going to be playing Medios. In a year I'm still going to be playing Puyo Pop Fever. There's a better value for these sort of titles, and especially when you throw on single card play aspect. I think that the DS is probably one of the most magical handhelds ever, simply due to the fact that on many games, and you can look at our database, I'll give a little plug to the website, on the DualScreenRadio.com website, there's a database that contains, I'd say 99%. We're doing our best to make it as accurate as possible of all DS games out there, including games that are in the European market that we don't have here in the U.S., and a couple of the English-friendly Japanese games. And we actually let you sort and filter tiles by what can be played on a single card. I think that's important. Chris mentioned earlier, Puyo Pop, 8 people?
Oh, that's
one
fantastic.
Card? What, 10 people on a single card on Tetris? How else do you call value? What else can you call value? If one person can walk into a room full of DSs and say, let's throw down Tetris, I got the card.
Yeah, you could just walk into a room, start your download play, And you're picking up any game you want. I mean, if you're in this big hall, with a bunch of people, say at like a video game convention. I don't know. I'll try to be cool here.
Yeah,
you can walk in with it. You hit download play, and it'll bring up a list of all the different games that you can download. Puyo Pop or Tetris could be one of them, or even Medios. Yeah. And then you can just jump in and start playing. It's great. It really is. I mean,
it's fantastic.
And this is a long way from the original Game Boy, where you had to have a cartridge per person and a system
and
per person.
And the $15 cable.
Exactly, and the $15 cable, which is what we used to always play in school. In study hall, we used to play two-player Tetris when the original Game Boy. I mean, now it's great. Not only that, but you got more people involved, and there's more of a heated battle going on and trying to get these pieces back and forth. And of course, once you make a piece to lead on yours, it goes to somebody else's. So that really brings up the hardcore gameplay factor there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I've actually, like I said before, I've actually learned a lot of interesting strategies. Everybody goes for the Tetris, right? I'll give away a little taste. Everybody goes for the Tetris, right? I watch all the other players as we're playing, and they're all lining up all the pieces to give them that magical Tetris when they get the line piece, the fold.
That's the first thing I go for.
Everybody does that. I realized watching somebody else that one of the great strategies of Tetris is not to get Tetrises. And it's like, well, damn, what's the point of the game if you're not supposed to get Tetrises? When you get a Tetris, you send the enemy or your opponent 4 broken lines, right? It basically increases their block load by 4 lines.
Up to the ceiling.
But the hole, they put 1 block missing in each line. In the case of a Tetris, it puts the same hole in the same place on all 4 lines, right? So if the guy doesn't have a lot on his plate and you send him over a Tetris, as soon as he clears off the line or two above it, he's sending the Tetris right back to you.
Right, because it leaves you that gap.
Because of the gap. The gap's all lined up. I watched this other guy with a different strategy where he nickeled and dimed you to death, and it was brilliant. Instead of getting a Tetris, he would get 2s and 3s instead of the Tetris. And what that does is instead of giving you 4 lines with the gap in the same spot, in the same amount of time, he was giving you 1 line, 2 lines, maybe even 3 lines, but the gaps were different on each line, immediately making it almost impossible for you to get rid of those because you couldn't just drop a single one-liner down there and clear that Tetris back out.
You know what else is the positive to that kind of play is, normally when you want to do a Tetris, and everybody tries to normally do that, you have to wait for that magical, line block to come down. I don't know what you want to call it.
Yeah.
the one with the 4 pieces in it that you can achieve a Tetris with. It's the only piece you can use to achieve a Tetris. And while you're waiting for that piece, which never seems to come at the right time, you're building up and building up and building up, without making anything go away and freeing up your space. So I found myself screwed over because I've waited for that piece. So playing that way isn't a surefire way to win.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get segued into a full Tetris review. I know I talk a lot too. But it's important to understand that there's a multitude of different puzzle games out there, and certainly you can pick one that matches exactly what you're looking for. In the case of these simpler games, these easier games that are more pick up and go, there are the single play options, which we already mentioned. 1 card feeds 10 people, 8 people, 4 people, and that's a great value. There are also versions of these games. They're like downloadable versions. They're little demos that you can transmit to somebody else. It's a lot like the download demo stations that we've been talking about the last couple of episodes. You can send a stripped down copy of Medios to your friend, turn yours off, and he can go home and play Medios all night, as long as he doesn't turn his machine off.
That's a really cool little thing to do. I love that.
And Pokemon Troze has the same thing. Troze takes it one step further. The client, or the little app that you send over to them, becomes not only a demo version, but it also handles the multiplay. So instead of having to do the DS download version each time you want to play, as long as he's still got a copy of the demo on there, you can keep playing. So that's pretty cool.
That's great. I didn't know that about that Troze.
Yeah, it's really cool. And Tetris has a unique feature to it, which I didn't completely realize until I was playing in a whole room of mixed people. But normally you have to choose whether you're going to play DS download, one person has a card and everybody chains off of that, or everybody has a copy of the card and you play the multiplayer mode that way. Tetris merges the two, and this is way cool. Somebody was really thinking outside the box. If I am the Tetris, I own a Tetris cartridge, and I go into invite mode, everybody around me, whether they have a Tetris card or whether they do not have a Tetris card, can join that same game. So person A sitting on my left has Tetris, so he goes into the multiplayer mode and he joins my game. He's good to go. He's ready to play. Person B next to him does not have Tetris. He hits DS download, and the game starts transmitting to him. So we go around the room, whether you have a DS card or not, and you all appear in the same game. Before the game starts, all the other Tetris DS players that don't have a card have to get their copies synced up. They have to get a version of it downloaded to them. But it's all seamless.
Oh, it's super fast, too. There's really nothing to the game. Because we were doing this last night.
Normally the problem with the DS download thing is it takes forever, and you've got 3 out of 4 people that have the card and one person that doesn't. So now everybody has to suffer because one person doesn't have the card. Well, in this case, it's all seamless, and it's like, man, that is really, really, really cool. And did you know on Tetris, if you're playing multiplayer locally, if you lose, you can keep playing?
Oh yeah, when you get to lose, all the blocks are gray and it says lose, you can keep playing and keep practicing.
That was way cool. We just recently found that out. So
really, that's neat. You know what? Actually,
I'm sure it says it in the book. I just haven't read the book yet.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, I haven't really read the book for this game, other than I checked out what the items did, in multiplayer, the battle items. But otherwise, I mean, I already know how to play Tetris. Now, one thing I just figured out was that little white flashing indicator when you play multiplayer. Have you figured out what that did yet?
You mean the one on the bottom right?
Well, no, it jumped when you play 3 or more people. You have that little. It's like a little white flashing.
It's a targeting scope. It's like Medios. You can choose who you're going to send to.
Right.
You don't have control over it. You can just time it.
It just jumps back and forth. Yeah. It took me to last night to finally look up at that screen and see that, because I really don't look up at the top screen. You really can't. And I was sitting there. I'm like, wait a minute, what is that thing? And then it just dawned on me, that's the targeting indicator where you want to send your load.
It's great. I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, again, like you said, greatest hits version of Tetris, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what. I mean, how many times you've played Tetris in the past? I mean, how many times you've bought Tetris? This is probably the best version of Tetris out there. I mean, it's got a few little flukes, little things, but you can turn them off more or less. But I guess we'll save that for a review.
Absolutely.
But obviously, it's a positive review, so I would just recommend getting the game.
Yeah, just get the game, and then we'll tell you. Then we'll tell you why you bought it. So, in sort of wrapping up the editorial here, there's many different genres of puzzle games on the DS. You've got your pick-up-and-go games, your Tetris, your Zookeeper. You've got your strategic puzzlers that, unless you're planning on investing some time, don't waste your cash. Medios, I would call that sort of a title. And then you've got the hybrids that have a little bit of both. We got some quick and easy pick-up and gameplay, but as the game unfolds, as you start playing online or with multiplayers, you're going to have to come clean and figure out some of the better strategies. Puyo Pop Fever, Pokemon Troze is the same way, and Puzzle Loop I would definitely count in there as well.
Puzzle Loop really does start adding to the game, where you get those little energy bars that come up that bounce your balls back and forth.
Yeah, Puzzle Loop just kicks major ass. Yeah, or repels in the Magnetica thing.
Yeah,
too funny. I just can't get over that name. So, pretty much any puzzle game, I can pretty much heartily recommend any of the games that we've mentioned here in the editorial. I couldn't see any reason not to have any of them. Some of them are a little on the pricier side. Pokemon Troze is still, I think, $34 or $29 if you shop around. And, for a lot of people, that may be a little on the expensive side. You might want to catch that, in a bargain bin. Personally, I love the game. I know Chris, it doesn't work for Chris at all.
Yeah,
he's a little cold, and that's cool. Not everything's going to work for everybody, and that's part of the reason why we have 2 people doing this show. I could gush on and on about Troze because I think it's just badass. But at the same time, you got the opposing side. There was somebody who didn't find it cool. So maybe that'll save you $10 or $15 when you go shopping for it. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we're doing the show. We want to save you money.
Well, like I say, added that extra money on there because it's a Pokemon game. You
got to pay the Pokemon license.
Yeah, exactly. You got to pay the extra $10 for a Pokemon license so you can see
Crazy
Pikachu
stuff.
flashing at you.
And I'd say the best value I've seen, I think I've seen Medios going for like $19 if you know where to look.
Yeah, Medios has come down. That was a little pricey when that first came out. Although
you know what? I'd say that was worth it when it came out, though.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, there wasn't really too many puzzle games. You only had really Zookeeper, and I think Puyo Pop had just come out maybe around there. But Medios was the big puzzle game at the time. And, that was a little pricey, but it's actually a little... I don't see it around as much as the other games either. It's not as common.
Yeah, I think the run's starting to go down since it's been around so long. But you can definitely pick that up used pretty much anywhere.
Puyo Pop, I've seen that like below $20 now new. And, shops. That's come down.
Yes, I mean, most of these are no-brainers.
Right there.
They're no-brainers. Puzzle Loop, I would say, we're so close to it coming out as Magnetic in the U.S. I'd say import it, but damn, just wait another month. You got Tetris. Tetris will tide you over till Puzzle Loop.
Definitely. But Puzzle Loop is, once Puzzle Loop comes out, that's going to be, forget Tetris for a little while. That Puzzle Loop's really going to be hooking.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people are going to get down on that. So anyway, if you have comments, questions about our editorial commentary, head over to our forums off of the DualScreenRadio.com website. We did a little restructuring. All the Nintendo stuff on our message forums now kind of falls under Dual Screen Radio. That kind of keeps everything well organized because that's mostly what our listener base is going to want to talk about, not so much the classic games that are also up there or some of the other things.
Nice and complete and together. Yeah, I like that.
So come and ask us questions if you're really thinking about you're on the wall about Pokemon Troze and you're wondering whether it's worth the money. Come in and let us know. Say, hey, I've seen about Troze, but I don't really understand the mechanics of it. How does it get more complicated? Where's the value? And, we'll do our best to answer your questions.
How do you pronounce it? Yes.
How do you pronounce it? It took us forever. Thank God for Opera, man. Opera's the only way I can figure out how to pronounce Troze.
Pokemon Troze.
Troze.
Oh, excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm glad frickin' you'd think that if like Opera's speech, engine could figure out how to say, pronounce Japanese words that I could too, but we won't talk about that. Anyway, well, shall we move on?
Yes, please. Let's move on.
So, taking a step away from the puzzle genre, we are now going to head into the platform one. Namely the side-scrolling platform genre, which we've seen a lot of since the days of the original Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, and especially the Genesis. The Genesis has quite a few of these. Over the years, we just really haven't seen too many of them. And Nintendo has been well known for their side-scrolling platforms, such as Super Mario Bros. Trilogy from the NES and Super Mario Bros. World on the Super Nintendo, and of course the all-time favorite of a lot of people, I guess I would call it a cult favorite, is Yoshi Island, which has been seen as a re-release on the Game Boy Advance within the last few years. However, lately, we really haven't seen too much of this type of game, especially starring the main plumber himself, and the DS has been especially lacking in this area since the debut of the system. And I'm not really counting Kirby, which I really don't find to be this type of game. Kirby used a whole different kind of mechanic from just running and jumping. It was more or less to show off the stylus, how the stylus works on the DS. So this kind of all leads to the recent release of Super Princess Peach, which a lot of people are going to look at and kind of see the cover of the box and think, oh, this is a little too girly, pastel-y. Well, all I gotta say, it's a gorgeous 2D drawn run and jump platformer in the same lines as another favorite, which I've already mentioned, Yoshi's Island. Peach hopes to fill that void that the DS is currently not really filling in very well. And does it succeed? Well, yes, although not quite there, not 100%. I will say right off the bat that this game is going to get a bad rap for being possibly for girls and having that girlish look. But before you kind of dismiss it, and as such, you need to know that there is plenty of old school retro gameplay present here. When I first booted it up, I was kind of instantly reminded of the Yoshi Island again. It just had that animated, colorful coloring book look that Yoshi's Island really had, in my opinion. You always had some kind of little like the little butterflies on the flowers and things such as that. And, if you can get past the fact that you were controlling Princess Peach, not Yoshi, and that there's certainly no baby Mario screaming in your ear. I would go as far as to say that you will fit right in here, and that it could very well be the lost sequel to Yoshi's Island. It's not better, but it's hands over heels better than the schlockfest that Rare put out as Donkey Kong Country, and has since, I will never forgive them for ruining basically the look of Donkey Kong now. That horribly awful looking, CGI looking Donkey Kong. I don't know where my old Donkey Kong went, but that's beside the point. This game is really coming back and giving you something that we haven't seen since before that time. This game just reeks of personality. There's just everywhere you can see there's some kind of little animation or something just brimming with personality. And this game just really has it in spades. And what makes this game different than the typical Mario side-scroller is that this time you are actually saving Mario himself. Koopa has actually kidnapped Mario, finally got his hands on Mario and Luigi, wrapped them up, and who's going to be the heroes of the kingdom now but Princess Peach, who has to go out and pretty much bring them back. And thanks to the magical parasol, which Peach gets to have over her shoulder all through the game, and she smashes and just it'll eat enemies. The parasol itself has its own kind of personality and is really a character in its own. It's got a little face, it talks, and it does all these little things, such as, of course, when you sit still, it'll actually swallow Princess Peach as one of those little standing animations. And, of course, you have 4 different power-ups. What would a side-scroller, or especially a Mario game, be without any kind of power-up? I mean, Mario had his Fire Flower. Peach now has these power-ups called Vibes, or what I like to call the PMS power. You will be whipping through this game probably in a day or two if you're hardcore enough. But, if you're more casual, it's probably going to take about a week, because you're going to have a lot of things that you're going to want to collect. And if you kind of put your heart and soul into this game and look for every possible little nook and cranny, it's going to take a little longer. If you're just going to rush through the game, you're really going to miss out on a lot of little things that this game really adds to it. So most of the reviews lately have kind of stated that the difficulty is pretty much non-existent in this game, but I don't find it true, and it really proves that a lot of the reviewers that really haven't played through like the first 2 levels. Because once you get past that second level, the game really does ramp up a bit. All through each of the levels, you're going to find all these different little power-ups and so forth that you can collect. Not really collect, coins that you can use to take to a store later on. In between levels, there's a store that is actually run by Toad, and you can buy some power-ups. And for the most part, the game isn't really that difficult, but it's certainly not a cakewalk. But the fact remains that it's a lot of fun while it lasts over its 8 worlds and pretty much 5 sub-levels per world. And if you like to collect things, as I said, there's plenty to collect, no problem, as you traverse through the now standard lava, forest, snow, and castle-based levels. Maybe throw in the desert there. You'll find plenty of secrets and items to collect. You got friends and toads, which are dispersed all through the levels at little random points that you have to save. And there's about 3 of them or so. And as you collect them, I believe it actually will unlock a little secret at the end, which I really don't want to spoil. But let's just say, if you're any fan of the original Zelda, you know what happens when you put in Zelda as your name at the main screen. So there's some little things to look forward to. Some other things are, you get these little puzzle pieces, which when you collect and get enough of them together, you can unlock an actual puzzle mini-game that you can put together with the stylus and touchscreen. And also some music. You can actually collect the game music, which later on you can play on the options menu. A little Princess Peach and the Toads, and I don't know who the big Toad is, the wise old Toad with the mustache. They all lead this big jam band, which will actually play some of the game music. So that's a nice little diversion there if you're into the game music. Something else you can also collect there's 3 different mini games in this game. They're kind of horribly underwhelming in my opinion. The first one you collect is probably the best one of them all. You have a Toad that's kind of just running through a level, and you can't control him other than his jump. And to do this, you blow into the microphone when you want to jump. Now, what's really cool about this is the longer or shorter you blow will control how far or short he jumps. So there's a lot of times where there may be 3 or 4 Goombas coming along. You can actually time it by blowing harder or softer on the microphone. It's a really cool little mini game. The other two are just pretty much embarrassingly forgetful. They're there, but you won't spend nearly as much time as you did on this first one, which in itself is actually not the greatest in the world either. You're certainly not going to find anything that Nintendo has included, such as Mario 64, which was full of awesome little mini games. I'm almost going out to the fence to say that just Mario 64, just buying it by itself, just for the mini games, is completely worth it. The mini games are just fantastic and really show off what the DS can do. We've already mentioned that kind of in the earlier shows. You really won't see much in the way of touchscreen here, other than for power-up choice and the fact that you'll see Princess Peach, a little caricature of her at the bottom screen, which kind of shows you what she's feeling right now. A lot of times when you walk into a level, you're going to see her kind of gasp, which means that normally there's a secret in that level that you can actually find. So that's something else that's pretty cool about the second screen. Normally I just use my thumb to select all the little power-ups and whatnot, and I think that's something that New Super Mario Bros. Is going to allow you to do too. Hopefully you won't mind getting some fingerprints on your screen. But one of the other things I wanted to bring up real quick before I forget is, as you traverse this game, you're actually going to see a lot of really cool little things, such as a lot of older enemies from other games that you really haven't seen before. So it's just really cool to see some of these old characters come back again. Moving back and backing up a bit, I wanted to bring up the vibe power-ups again. You get 4 different vibe power-ups. You have happy, angry, calm, and sad. Each of these little emotions allow you to do different things, basically 4 different things, since there's 4 of them. You have happy, which allows you to kind of take a little flight and a little spin around the level. It allows Princess Peach to kind of get up in the air a little bit and drift. It's kind of similar to what you can get in the original Super Mario Bros. 2 for the NES, where when you chose Princess Peach, she would kind of do that little 2-second glide to actually give her a little more distance in her jump. So that's kind of sort of what that is. This actually allows you to fly around a little bit more, which is actually pretty cool. The next one would be angry. Angry turns Princess Peach into this big raging fireball, which allows you to walk around totally consumed in flames. And it's kind of equivalent to the old star invincibility from the original Super Mario Bros. And that as you walk along in a level, all the bad guys and anything in your way is just going to be bumped out of the way. One of the other cool little things is there's a lot of little puzzle features within each of the levels of this game. And when you use such as the angry one, there's actually wooden bridges that you can burn down to get to a lower level below that bridge to collect maybe one of these puzzle pieces or toads. The next one on the list here would probably be, Calm? Calm is a really kind of boring power-up. It just basically gives you back your health bar. When you hit the Calm, you get some of your health back. It's like your health is represented by these little heart icons. And every time you use the Calm, it fills them up halfway each time over, I guess, a course of about maybe just under 10 seconds. You'll get half of a heart back, maybe 5 seconds, something like that. And finally, at the end, we have sad. Sad is sort of like angry, except it actually gives Princess Peach a little bit of a step to her run. She can actually charge through and run a little quicker than normal. Normally she's got this little mopey kind of walk, which you can actually hold down the B button, which is par for the course for these Mario games. That allows you to run a little bit. But when you turn the sad power up on, you can actually get even more of a step to her. But not only that, she's just a fountain of tears. Just a rampaging fountain of tears that come out of all of her. Basically, all but Calm allow you to solve some of the minor puzzles gracing each of the playing fields. Fire can burn bridges. Tears can sprout some very Yoshi Island-esque vines of leaves to jump from. Of course, none of these power-ups are free, that would kind of make the game a little too easy. Just below your health bar is what is called a vibe bar. This will go down as you use these powers. Replenishing is pretty simple, as allowing your parasol to eat an enemy will recharge it a bit. So, as I said before, yes, the parasol is a character in itself. It's kind of like when Yoshi would kind of pick up an enemy, suck him in, and spit him out as an egg. In between the levels, as I said, there's a game store. At this game store, you can take the coins that you've gotten from taking out an enemy and buy power-ups to either your parasol, or you can actually increase your heart and vibe meter to make it go up a little higher, hence allowing you to either live longer or use your power a little longer. So, rounding this up a little bit, how do I feel about this game? Well, beside the fact that I'm increasingly upset at Nintendo's new $34.99 price point, I do like this game very much. We were long overdue for a new Nintendo side-scroller, especially a 2D one, which is just something you don't see nowadays. And it's really a lost art in games. I know I've mentioned this before, but it's really sad that everything's 3D now. It's nice to see a little change of things. It doesn't really bring anything new to the table. If you're a fan of these type of games, side-scrolling, run and jump, flipping around type of games, collecting things, you're really going to probably feel right at home here. It's not much brought to the table, but what it does bring, it does very well. New Super Mario Bros. Is going to be out in another month, but if you're looking for some old-school platforming fun, which you really haven't had since the mid-90s, here you go. And most importantly, it's on the DS, so you're really filling that void. I really enjoyed the game. Style is up. Realize that this game is basically the entree to the main course that is going to be the new Super Mario Bros. Game coming next month. Hopefully, I believe it's now May 15th. They've been kind of jumping between May 15th and May 21st. Stay tuned to the Touch and Go segment for little updates here and there. We'll hopefully clue you in as we get closer to that date.
All right, this episode we're going to take a look at the game Tetris, which should really need no introduction other than the fact that this is not the Tetris that you've grown up with. This is a brand new Tetris, and as Chris would call it, the greatest hits version of Tetris.
Kind of a best of Tetris.
You know how Mario Kart was Mario Kart DS was sort of the best version of Mario Kart. They took all the cool things from all the previous versions and meshed into something cool and new. That's what Tetris DS does, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be the best way to say it, wouldn't you think, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. Especially when you factor in the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Well, I guess, everyone out here has played Tetris in some fashion or another, so we're not going to bore you with the semantics of what is Tetris. If you want to know what Tetris is specifically, go hit Google, and you'll be able to find out. It's a falling block game. You've seen a billion of them.
And it's been cloned enough as it is that I think everybody, it's funny that it's practically not even built into XP yet, as part of the little game segment.
That's true. I didn't even think about that, but I don't think Microsoft wants to let anybody know they have to pay a license to include that.
Yeah, they could call it XP-Tris, yeah.
XP-Tris, nice. Petris. Anyway, so instead what we're going to try to focus on for this review is more what makes this the exceptional version of Tetris and why we feel it's worth your cash.
And what elements are involved in this specific version of it that really raise the bar.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just so many things to talk about with regards to this new Tetris. The first thing that's probably worth mentioning is the fact that this is a themed version of Tetris. If you go up online and you hit java.com and you find some Tetris game, it's going to be a falling block Tetris game. Nintendo has taken their intellectual property catalog out of the coffers and generously splashed it all over this game.
Yeah, no screen gets by without some kind of character from the Nintendo treasure box.
Yeah, I've seen some amazing things in there.
Things around your screen.
Let's see, some of the things, obviously you'll see, the venerable Mario and Donkey Kong. Who else have you seen? I've seen Link.
What? One of the cool things I thought was really neat is when you're connecting to the Wi-Fi, and on the top screen, you got that little professor dude bouncing back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen him because I know you're not hardcore into Nintendo, but
yeah,
he's actually from one of the first games released on the U.S. edition of the Nintendo Entertainment System. He was part of that combo box set where you got the Rob robotic operating buddy.
Oh, see, I knew he was somebody.
Yeah, he's from a game called Gyromite. And I think he might actually be in the other game. There were 2 games made for Rob, and that was kind of it. I mean, he didn't really take off. But the little professor dude, which I'm not really sure is what his name is, to be honest with you.
I guess we should look that one up.
Yeah, I always thought his name was like Professor Gyromite or something. But, he was the little character that you controlled and who you interacted with Rob. So that was kind of cool seeing him up there just kind of bouncing back and forth while you're waiting for your Wi-Fi connection to connect, because it's got like the professors working on your Wi-Fi or something, scientists.
It's way cool. I mean, even if you sit at the title screen long enough, different characters come out and destroy blocks that are being thrown at them just on the title screen.
Yeah, Link is like smashing the blocks with his sword, and
there was I think there was some Metroid reference in there. I mean, there's basically, like I said, you'll see everybody in here at some point in time. But the one you'll of course spend the most time with is Mario, especially if you play online a lot. Which I do.
You tend to get tired of seeing Mario.
You get tired of seeing Mario. You're begging to play some of the other modes just so you can see somebody other than Mario.
Now, when you play marathon mode, especially, that's when the nostalgia really comes out, because you get the little Eskimo dudes from not Snow Brothers. What am I saying? The little Eskimo dudes from Ice Climber, and at the tail end of it, you get a nice little surprise in that you get the retro Tetris theme with the original Game Boy music playing. It's not the actual Game Boy Tetris, but you get the music and you get the little. It looks like a photo from. Actually, it reminds me of the cover of the box from the Tengen version of Tetris that came out for Nintendo that Nintendo had pulled off the market.
Yeah, my wife loves that version. We actually still have the card here. We have like 5 NES cards, and that's one of them. It's just crazy. My wife.
It was more closer to the arcade. Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. Well, okay. Enough of the reminiscence. Cool enough of the styling. I mean, everyone's seen screenshots probably at this point. What you really want to probably know about are what are the different modes, how do they work, and what's the online experience like? Because a few people have had not so nice things to say about Super Mario or Mario Kart Online in terms of how you get connected and some of those sort of things. So we want to address that as well. Do you want to talk about the single player modes, Mr.
Well,
Chris?
yeah. I know the main single player mode is the typical marathon mode, which kind of everybody knows and pretty much plays for the most part. It's the single player where you're your own worst enemy type of thing, where you're just trying to make Tetrises and try to build as many lines as you can. And I know in this version of this game for the DS, you actually can get up to about, I think, 200 lines, and that's about when you're kind of doing really well in this game. For me, the most I've gotten was around 191, 192, and that's actually the Tetris stage at the end there. I think it changes themes every 10 or so levels or lines or so. So that's your typical marathon, run the course, play it over again, addiction overload. I guess marathon, and then the other one that's pretty much single-player play, although I do think it has a multiplayer, is the touch mode. It's Tetris basically where you're using the stylus. The theme involved is balloon fight. So you got the little guys from Balloon Fight kind of floating around in the background. You have these blocks already dropped. They're already preset dropped blocks. And what you need to do is use the stylus and the touch screen at the bottom to kind of position these blocks so that they fall and connect and just fall into each other and disappear. The more you do at a time, the better, obviously, but just doing one at a time sometimes is the only way you're going to get through. You got to maneuver the blocks back and forth and just try to get everything to connect. And as it drops down, you're going to have a cage full of balloons at the very top of this stack of blocks. Now the goal is to reach that box of balloons and let them free and float off. And I think you only get about 5 stages, and I think I just kind of blew right through them. There's really not much to it. It was a nice little experiment, but it's kind of snore soon. So I'm always going back to the marathon. Pretty much the other stuff is multiplayer. I guess catch mode, which uses the Metroid theme, has a big center block where pieces are just kind of falling randomly. And you have to rotate this block of different types of Tetrises shapes and connect them and make a big ball. And from that point, you can actually detonate it. The bigger the box and the blocks that you have together that you detonate, the more points you get. I'm not real thrilled about that mode. I kind of like the fact that they were trying something new, but I just couldn't really get into it.
It's one of those modes that sound like a hell of a lot more fun than it ends up being.
Yeah,
At least
yeah.
that was kind of my feeling on it. I tried it a few times, and it's like,
They try too hard with it, in my opinion.
yeah, it's like, okay, it's sort of an afterthought product. So
Right.
that's kind of how I felt.
Yeah, it's like
And there are
Nintendo
several,
trying to
actually, there's a
reinvent
couple of other single-player modes I want to bring up, too. One of them is the mission mode, and this is actually considerably a lot more fun than it seems to be. Basically, it's a mission. They will tell you what to do, and you have to do it. They may tell you to clear 5 lines, non-sequentially. They may tell you to make a Tetris. They may tell you to make a Tetris using only blue blocks. They may tell you to, it's amazing how many different combinations of things that they want you to do to pass these mission modes. The faster you do it, you get a higher score. There's a couple different modes in that. There's a marathon mode, and there's a time trial mode, but it's basically the same thing. It's just how you're basing your time frame of reference on it. There's also a puzzle mode, and my wife is absolutely hooked on puzzle mode. It seems to me there's about 100 different puzzles that you can do, and the idea is they give you a pre-set up level, and you have to solve or clear the screen of lines, make Tetrises or lines, using only the pieces that they give you. If you make one mistake, you lose. It's sort of like that mode in, Pac-Man Attack. There's a mode just like it in there, where you have so many different possible drops, and you have to finish and clear it within those certain number of drops.
Was that Pack Attack? Do you mean that kind of Tetris clone involving Pac-Man?
Yes.
Oh, that horrible game?
It's a lot like that. It's actually kind of fun, and my wife absolutely loves it. It's all set in Yoshi Land, and you have like 3 pieces. They give you a certain number of pieces, and you have to choose them one at a time and drop them.
Yeah.
And you have to finish the puzzle. It's actually a lot of fun. My wife loves it, so there's obviously something to it. Inside the standard mode, too, along with the marathon mode, there's also a line clear mode, where you get points for clearing a certain number of lines. You choose a level, et cetera, et cetera. It's very similar to the marathon mode. There's also a versus CPU, which is definitely your trainer for playing online. This is what I play mostly when I'm playing alone, which will give you a standard one-on-one or, versus mode against the CPU, and you can set his level of intelligence and speed, and you go for as long as you can until somebody loses. This is how you practice for playing the standard online mode. Really good stuff. Everything is very slick. The presentation of the menus, everything's laid out. It makes sense, and there's tutorials for everything. That catch mode we were talking about earlier, you don't have to read anything. I've yet to read the Tetris manual.
Yeah, the only time I think I picked up the manual was to learn what the power-ups do in multiplayer. What like the banana does and what the ghost does and the little icons. That was probably the only time I really looked in the manual.
So that kind of gives you an overview of the first, the one-player, single-player experience. Let's talk about the multiplayer experience. This is cool. And you have, as with every Wi-Fi game, you have 2 different modes. You have local area networking, where you and your buddy sitting in the same room within 100 feet can play. And then you have the online component, where you log in through your WAP and get on board. So the local area network version allows you to play, get this, up to 10 players. I've only managed to max out at 6. I've managed to get 6 people together to play. And let me tell you what, 2 people is fun, 3 persons a party. Anything above that is sheer bedlam, and it's awesome.
That's fantastic, man.
It is
and
amazing.
Beautiful,
Go ahead.
beautiful stuff. I mean, I know we mentioned this already, but I wanted to make sure it's included in the review just to make sure. But the fact that what's cool is even if you have the original cartridge, say you're in a room with 5 people, 6 people, okay,
yeah,
and maybe 2 or 3 of those people have the cartridge, but the other couple people don't have the cartridge. You don't all have to specifically download from the one person, the one master. Everybody can jump in. If you don't have the game, you can just go and download it. It's great. It's all seamless. There's none of this, well, it's either do you have the cartridge or not kind of play. You know what I mean? Like that we experienced in a lot of the old other multiplayer stuff. It's really cool. So as soon as you get on there and you hit your DS Play, if you don't have it,
you're seamlessly logged in with the rest of them, and it's almost like maybe at like half a minute to download. It seems it's like 30 seconds to download this game.
Yeah, it's very fast.
It's super fast.
The latency is not bad, and like he said, just to give you an idea, if you've ever tried to play multiplayer Metroid Pinball, you understand what frustration is, because I can have 3 people in the room that have the pinball.
Exactly.
And one person doesn't, so everybody has to go to DS download mode.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And that's crazy talk. This is perfectly seamless. This is probably the biggest plus I saw in the LAN side of a DS game, is to be able to seamlessly do that. Pokemon Troze, for example, is kind of cool in the fact that it lets you send a demo copy to somebody, and they use that demo copy not only to play a solo trial game, but also to hook up to multiplayer game. That was pretty cool. I like this actually even better.
Because with Troze, does it actually? So I guess once that person shuts off, who you downloaded it from, the host.
Yeah.
Most games tend to just say, your opponent is disconnected, and that's the end of it.
Nope, you can continue to play.
With Troze, you can actually continue. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's cool as well. Anyway, inside of the local area network play, you got 3 different modes you can play. Standard, which again you can play with up to 10 people. Mission mode, which I do believe you can still play up to 10 people, and you get sent. Be the first one to make a Tetris. Be the first one to clear a line using only nothing but blue. Clear this line. Do whatever. And whoever does it first gets the most points. The person with the most points win. Standard deal.
Yeah.
It's actually a lot of fun. That's a much more fun thing to play multiplayer than it is to play alone. And finally, of course, you can play the push mode. I don't think we talked much about the push mode, did we?
No, I thought we were gonna. Yeah, I figure we wait for multiplayer, but it's. I mean, you could play it in single player, but it's just not nearly as much fun. I mean, it's a lot better when you have a human opponent available to play this game. It's push mode is basically your opponent's on the top screen, you're on the bottom, or vice versa, depending on what side of the room you're on with the DS. But you have 2 sides and 2 different gauges that show where you're at. Basically, when the pieces drop down, you got to connect them all. You got to push all the pieces back and forth to where it's based on the Mario theme. So at the bottom, you had that little oil barrel that when the little flame guy jumped in, it would ignite. When you reach the bottom of the screen, it starts to really flame up. The music starts. It starts getting really stressing to indicate that you're going to lose. When you send a Tetris, I think it's, what is it? Is it either 3 or 4 pieces at once? I think you can send 2, right? And it does something?
Yeah, I think 2 sends 1, 3 sends 2, and then 4 sends 4, something like that.
So as you send them, it's actually going to go on the other guy's screen, which is typical for the multiplayer Tetris. But in this case, it's actually pushing the stack downwards. It's like playing Tetris in reverse to a point. So you can actually push the player out of the screen, and you're fighting. It's like a tug-of-war battle with Tetris pieces.
That's the best way to put it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like tug-of-war, except for, that's tug-of-war, basically. It's a good time. I mean, that's a lot of fun, but you have to have some pretty level people to play it, because otherwise you end up getting stonewalled bad. And it's no fun when, either to be the person winning all the time or losing all the time. That's a game that can very well be, there's not a lot of luck involved in that. I mean, obviously there's always the Tetris get the right piece luck, but if you have a really seasoned player, then they're going to, I mean, it's a very lopsided game. So it's fun to play, but again, and it only plays with 2 people. So
and once again, though, it's another thing that, I mean, Nintendo tried to bring something different to this game. Tetris DS, in other words, and it is kind of cool. It's a nice little addition. I will give them that. They could have just put out just regular Tetris, with nothing else on it. They really have added a lot of meat to this package. It's really cool.
Absolutely.
So, just the fact that it's there, even if you don't play, it's just nice that it is there. At least they were trying something with this. Now, I will mention in the push mode, unlike the regular marathon or multiplayer Tetris, those long 4-block pieces that you need to use for Tetris to get the 4 blocks and everything, 4 lines going over to the opponent's screen, they don't really come off too well or too valuable in the push mode. Because if you drop a piece down through the screen, it's gone. You actually have to drop it on another piece. You start out with one little block.
There's like a couple of bumpers for you to use to start off with, but for the most part, and the tee-off, so to speak, the first couple of pieces are crucial in terms of building a defense, because one of the posts or the barriers that you can use to start making Tetrises with One's close to you and one's close to him. So what you want to do is get a lot of pieces thrown over to his barrier and start building it up the barrier closer to him versus him building it closer to you. It gives you a few line lead, and it can really make a big difference. But I do like the context-sensitive music, and the screen starts getting red when you start getting ready to get torched. I love that. That's great.
It stresses you out. You know, the tempo goes up and up as you get worse and worse off.
Yeah, and that push mode is available on online as well, so you can play with another person online. Now let's move over to that, since we're running this review a little longer than I think either one of us originally intended. But Tetris is so great that we just have to talk about it.
Right. Plus, there's a lot of versions of Tetris over the years. I mean, a lot of people I know in the forum were saying this is just Tetris. I don't need to buy it again. And that's the point of this review, is to stress that this just isn't normal Tetris. There's a lot going on here to really, make it a valuable thing to pick up, especially if you have a DS.
Absolutely. Well, only if you have a DS.
Oh, obviously.
Good point. Anyway, once you can play online, it's not nearly as confusing this time around. Obviously, it still uses friend codes, and when you log yourself into the online service, you can play worldwide, which means anybody's available, or you can invite or join a friend. Again, there's no lobby.
Very simple.
This is bare bones, and the good news is, well, there's good news and bad news. The bad news is when you play in the standard mode with 4 players, you have to have 4 players to play. This is just like Mario Kart.
That is probably the biggest con of this game.
Yeah, we'll be right up front with you. This is the worst thing they could have done. They should have CPU players. There should have been a cutoff button, and if 3 people hopped on, you should say cutoff, and then the CPU plays the 3rd or the 4th player. But that's not how it works. If you want to play standard 4-player with items or weapons, this is the only way you can play with weapons online, is to play 4 players. And I'll tell you what, 4 players is pretty hit and miss, especially when you have people who drop the second they lose. Now, the nice thing is when you lose, you actually get demoted. There's an online ranking point system, and if you drop, you lose more points. So you actually are hurting
yourself.
You're docked if you dump offline when you think you're losing. So that's kind of a cool thing. But again, to play standard 4-player mode with weapons, you have to have 4 players, and that's kind of a drag. You can play standard 2 players, and trust me, there's always a second player kicking around here.
Yeah.
Always. I mean, within 10 seconds you'll be online with somebody.
That's one thing that's great. You don't really, unlike Mario Kart, you don't really wait around very long. I remember I used to wait for what seemed like hours for somebody to finally log in, and then the connection would be so bad that they would fizzle out. With this, forget. You're laying in bed, you want to play a quick game online. There's always somebody there.
There is, and it's beautiful. So you can play with 2 players with no weapons, 4 players with weapons, and then you can also play the push mode online with 1 other player. So if you're wanting to play something quick, you've got standard with no weapons, and you've got push with no weapons that you only need 1 more player for. But then if you really want to party, and this is where the best part of multiplayer, both LAN and Wi-Fi, come into play, are weapons. Now, I'm a big slut for weaponry. Anytime that you can throw weaponry into, it's like Super Puzzle Fighter's a great game, but there's no weapons. There's no weapons in it, so that's kind of sucky. I mean, you could think that there might be any time you can screw your friends over, that makes for good gaming.
No Hadoukens.
Yeah. So in the 4-player mode or in local area network mode with as many players as you want, up to 10, you get or have the option to turn on or off weaponry. And this is kind of cool because you can opt to turn it off, so you're not playing with weaponry. Weapons consist of 5 different items, right? I'm trying to remember.
Something like that. Yeah, it's actually not that many. It really isn't. It's not as vast as, say, Mario Kart would be.
Yeah, and let's run through the weapons while we're thinking about it. Probably the most common weapon you're going to see is the red shell. The red shell is what I call a defensive weapon. In other words, when you get the red shell and you spawn it with the X button, it runs across the bottom of your screen and knocks out 2 of your lines that are pending at the bottom. If you've really screwed up the first 2 or 3, the first 5 or 6 drops, and this happens to everybody, you screw up those first 5 or 6 drops and you've got just a bunch of Swiss cheese holes in the bottom couple rows, the red shell is benediction because it will go through there and clean off those 2 rows. And that's great. Do you want to take the next one?
Well, the next one I could think of offhand was the invincibility star. And when I first got that, I was like, okay, what is this thing going to do for me? This is Tetris. Nothing really crazy about it. It just basically gives you, for a short time while the music's playing, dun, 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 you'll get those 4-line blocks that just come down, the ones that are beneficial enough that you can make a Tetris. That's the only way you can really make a Tetris of 4 lines. You'll constantly get them over and over and over. When you look over to your little side screen there that shows you what pieces are coming up next, it's going to be filled with the same pieces. And as long as that plays and goes on, that's all you're getting. So
what's the last? Maybe 5-6 seconds, something like that.
It's less than 10 seconds. That's
you
for
can
sure.
drop if you go maximum speed, you can get about 6 lines in. So if you're jonesing for a Tetris, you can usually get one during that period.
I'll tell you what, though, that's actually screwed me up a few times.
If you're close to the top, yeah.
Especially if you're close to the top.
That star will screw you.
Yeah.
But now, the other property about the star that I do want to bring up is you cannot be attacked while the star is running.
Right.
There are some offensive weapons as well. And those offensive weapons won't hurt you while you've got the star activated, which is good because some of the offensive weapons can be real head turners. One example of the offensive weaponry is the mushroom. The mushroom will make everybody but you speed up the drop of their Tetris pieces. They get these little rockets on the pieces, and the pieces blow onto your screen. Think of an inverse meteos. They just they drop at like the fastest rate possible, and you have got to be quick. And you'll find yourself using the infinite rotation thing, which we'll talk about in a little bit, to try to save yourself. But a lot of times, if you're close to the top, that is the death knell. Go ahead and tell them about the lightning bolt.
The lightning bolt. Wait a minute. What does the lightning bolt do?
Did I just stump you by throwing you the lightning bolt?
You stumped me with the lightning bolt.
I'm sorry.
I don't get the lightning bolt.
The lightning bolt rotates.
I gotta get my list up here.
The lightning bolt rotates all of your opponent's blocks.
That's it. Yes.
So basically take all of your blocks and turn them 90 degrees, and that's exactly what their screen will look like. Now, believe it or not, while that does seem to be an offensive weapon, sometimes that really helps your buddies out, the people you're playing, and that's not a good thing at all. So it's kind of a hit and miss sort of thing. I'm sorry, you know what? I just screwed you over. That's not the lightning bolt. That's the banana.
That's right. See, that's where I was getting confused.
Yeah, the lightning bolt actually makes it so you can't rotate anything.
I'm sitting there thinking, this is why I looked at the instruction book, because I still get screwed up on some of these pieces, because a lot of them I don't see as much as other ones. I see the shell all the time.
Yeah.
That one's easy. But I was actually thinking, when you said lightning bolt, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, where's the banana coming in this?
Yeah, that's right. My bad. And we're not even going to edit that, so you can just see how pathetic we really are. But no, the banana does the piece rotation, and that's a one-time deal. It's a one-shot unit. You hit it, it's gone. Weapons don't queue, by the way. You can only hold one weapon at a time, and once it's gone, it's gone. And if it's a duration-style weapon, then you get it for X amount of seconds. Otherwise, you just use it, and it's gone. The lightning bolt actually makes it so that all of the pieces that are falling one turn gray, and you can't rotate them for X amount of time, which
exactly.
is like 5
or
6 seconds.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what, I would almost rather have the fiery mushroom than to not be able to rotate my pieces. It really sucks. And the final offensive weapon isn't much of a weapon at all, but some people it really pisses them off, is the ghost, Boo. If you activate Boo, all of the other players on the screen lose the ability to see what pieces are coming next.
Yep.
And while that doesn't, that sounds, that would really suck. If you're a decent Tetris player, all that does is make you have to pay a little bit more attention.
I'll be honest with you, I very rarely look beyond the first next piece. All those other ones that are coming down are useless to me. Because I think it gives you, 4 pieces total for next?
Yeah, it gives you a little preview.
It's totally useless to me.
Let me tell you where it only works. It only works when you're jonesing for a line, and you need to know how many more pieces you have to drop before you get the line. That's the only time I ever use it. So if I got myself well set up and I've got a 4-line Tetris ready to roll, and I'm not getting a line, then I'll look ahead to see, okay, how many more pieces do I have before a line? If I don't have one in the next 4 moves, I'm going to have to start taking care of business another way. But if I've got one in the next 4 moves, I'll put the other pieces and just kind of tuck them away somewhere so that, on a different side of the screen so that I can go ahead and drop my 4 when it does show up.
Yeah.
So that there's some use to it. But now the most one of the most important things about Tetris, and I'm trying to remember if I've ever seen this before, or if this is unique to Tetris DS. I'm sure one of our listeners will write in and let us know. Something called the hold piece. This is pretty damn cool. The hold piece allows you to swap out one piece into a holding cue. So let's say your first piece falls, the first piece of the game, and you decide you don't like it because it's one of those little awkward pieces that always leaves a hole.
Or, on the other hand, it's the long bar that you need for the Tetris, the 4-line Tetris.
Right. You may want to stash that away.
You might want to hold that for later on. Yeah.
Basically, hitting the right finger button, the R button, will take whatever piece is currently falling and slap it into the holding cue. If there's another piece in the holding cue, you're immediately given that one. So you can use it as a flip-flop. The problem is you can only do that one time. If a piece is falling and you swap it out and you get a piece that you don't like, you don't get to swap it again. One swap per drop, basically.
Exactly. That's good. I like that.
Now the cool part about it is, and this is a little extra beneficial piece of strategy for you. It can be any time during the drop, even at the very last second. So if you need to buy yourself some time because your opponent is in like self-destruct mode, you can use the hold swap to buy yourself a buttload of time. Because you wait for the piece to drop slowly. It's about ready to hit, swap it. And you just buy yourself one complete drop cycle.
That's a nice tip. Yeah, it does make sense. I've done that quite a lot myself.
It's a nice little strategy. But the hold piece adds a complete another layer to Tetris. One that, it's like weaponry or anything else in a simple game that's been enhanced. You cannot use it and still fare pretty well. But in order to be competitive, in order to really knock the socks off of some of these guys you're going to play online, you're going to have to learn how to use it and use it well. Like Chris was saying, it's a perfect place to stash a line. You may not need a line all the time, the 4-block Tetris in a straight line. If you tuck it away, you'll have it for when you do need it. And so it's very cool. I mean, I'm not sure how else to explain the hold piece, but you'll find it useful.
I think you did a pretty good job there. I mean, that's pretty much all there is to it. But initially, it's one of those saviors and also one of those defensive plays, because if you get a bad piece and you don't need it, up it goes. And, you can just move on to the next piece and then figure out where you're going to put that piece you're holding later on in the long run.
Hey, you know what we forgot to tell them? How to actually get weapons.
Yeah, and actually when you play this online with the weapons enabled, you'll see some pieces that come down randomly that have like a little glowing block in them.
It's a little question mark block, like from Mario Brothers.
It kind of like glows a little bit, undulates. And whenever you make that disappear, if you get that glowing piece mixed in with a line that you can make disappear and go to your opponent, whatnot, that piece is going to transform and add itself up to your item list. It's all pure random stuff, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like picking up a question mark box in Mario Kart.
Exactly. I don't know if you get that, though. I mean, like, if you're in a bit of a trouble, a bit of a jam, I mean, I don't know if the shell would come out more often, Because it's just like in Mario Kart. Whenever the person is, whoever is in first place seems to only get bananas. Did you ever notice that?
Yeah, I've noticed that. You only get crappy pieces.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, and then the guy in the back will tend to get the nitros or the blue shell or lightning bolts. So, depending on how well you're doing, I'm wondering if that's how you're getting the shaft or your benefit.
I did sit down for a good hour trying to figure out while I was playing multiplayer if there was some sort of a pattern. I couldn't really detect one. It's not nearly, if there is one, it's not nearly as prevalent as in Mario Kart, where it's like you're the last guy, you're like a half a lap behind, you're going to get a blue shell, probably. In this game, it does seem to be fairly random. And again, what the computer might think is a great deal, like the lightning bolts or the fire stuff, the fire mushroom, it may not necessarily be a good deal. So you have to use your weapons wisely. Now, you can't change out weapons. If you get a weapon, it's there until you use it. And that's kind of a drag, because a red shell would be really helpful when you're close to the top, but all you got's a star in your weapon queue. You have to use it, and if you use it, you're basically dead. So weapons are dead to you for the rest of that level until you can bring your stack down a little bit. So, again, like everything else, there is definitely a strategic look to this. It's not just making Tetrises.
I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool that they've added these little things. It really, it freshens the whole game up a little bit. I mean, without going overboard too much, and at least they give you the option to turn that off, at least most of the things off. And
yeah, and the other thing about the weapon, too, is you can only have one box on the screen at a time, which actually, this is very clever. Somebody was thinking ahead when they did this. For example, let's say you have a piece that falls, and it's got one of the little power-up boxes on it. You're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm going to stash that away, so the next time I make my Tetris, I'm going to not only get my Tetris, but I'm going to get a weapon, too. Well, what happens is if another piece appears on the screen that has the weapon box on it, it takes away the first one. So you can only have on the screen at any given time one weapon box, and it's random. You do seem to get more weapon boxes, though, the further behind you are.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a leveraging tool or a leveling tool that they play with. So that's pretty cool as well. And that's pretty much the main mechanics of how the new Tetris works. We've told you about the online 4-player enigma that seems to be prevalent in most Wi-Fi games. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it except for bitch to Nintendo.
I guess a couple other things that we should bring up is, and you wanted to mention the spinning pieces. You know, you can constantly rotate the pieces as they get to the bottom. Before, you didn't really get much time to kind of rotate them and kind of fit them in when they reach the bottom. Once they hit ground, that was it. Game over. That piece was stuck. With this, what you can do is you're given a so much of amount of time. I want to say maybe, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 seconds to sit there and rotate and fit the piece to your liking. So you're given a little more range and time, and how do you want to actually strategize your block laying, so to speak. And I know there's a lot of times where, I'll have one of the Swiss cheese little holes down there that I'm thinking, man, how am I going to get something in there? And then the right piece comes along, and it just gives you that little bit of extra time to kind of pop it right in there and kind of clear things up for you.
Yeah, a lot of the naysayers, the people who aren't going to like Tetris DS no matter how cool it is, that's one of their primary bitches. It's like the, the scratching cheat on Medios? Remember they always said that if you get in a bind, you just start scratching the screen and eventually you'll clear something?
Right, that the game had no mechanics because you just randomly shake the stylus over the screen and something's going to happen.
Something will happen. Well, people are talking about they call it the infinite spin. It's not infinite. You can't spin it forever.
No,
but you can spin it for about 5 seconds before it actually commits to landing.
And you know what? Like that item hold and drop kind of saving you a little bit. Especially on some of the harder marathon levels, once you get up there, spinning that piece is the only way you're really going to be able to get through some of those levels. The pieces drop so fast that you don't even see them drop. They just kind of appear at the bottom of the screen. Or even if you're playing multiplayer, if you start getting real high up there, on the verge of losing, and I'll tell you what, I've made plenty of comebacks, so it's not over when you get to the top. But if you have that infinite spin going for you, it gives you that extra second to say what next piece is coming down, so you can actually plan ahead just that little bit. That extra second really
totally
counts.
helps. I mean, you can't.
Yes.
And the game is leveled to that, so it's not like it's cheating.
Right.
Everybody's
going to be playing it.
Yeah, everybody has access to that. Now, what I will bring up is the game does have a handicap system. So if you play multiplayer and you want to play with somebody relatively new to Tetris, and you don't want to wipe the floor up with them, you can set your handicap to I think it's 1 through 5.
Right.
And the higher up your handicap is, the faster they drop. And I do believe it affects how many weapons get dropped as well. So it gives you the opportunity to play on a level playing field with people who may not be as good as you are, or have other people who are kicking your ass lighten things up a little bit and make it a little more fair of a match. And I do believe the handicap is available in pretty much every multiplayer version.
Yeah. I think push mode actually has it too, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does too.
Yeah. Something else that I know it drove me crazy when I first played the demo of this game is the little shadow of the piece.
Yeah.
Yes, the ghost piece. That's right. That drives me crazy. I mean, I guess I have ADD. I don't know, but watching my piece come down and seeing that little ghost piece, it just really drove me crazy. Thank God you can turn it off. The only other problem is if a person that downloaded the game from you does not have that option.
Well, I think they adopt whatever you have. If you have it turned on, then they get it. Are you sure?
Well, no, because I turned mine off the day I got the game.
Right.
And sure enough, that person's got the ghost piece on theirs.
Huh. That's weird.
Unless you know what? Yeah, because as far as I know, everybody I play with in the same room will have that ghost piece off. They find it equally annoying themselves. So
we may have to check up and get back to you on that one. I was pretty sure that whoever was hosting their ghost piece settings transmitted to everybody else, but we'll double check and get back to you on that one.
Yeah,
I will tell you this though, the ghost piece, in all honesty, if you want to call anything about this game cheating, the ghost piece is cheating. Because let's be honest, the human eye has a lot of problems lining up a piece to drop from the top of the screen. So while you, as the non-ghost piece user, are waiting for that box or the Tetris piece to drop far enough where you can eyeball it into place, the guy using the ghost piece has already dropped 3 of them while you're waiting for the first piece to go down.
Right, because it's doing the work for him.
Because he's not having to eyeball that piece to drop.
Exactly.
Now, I'm telling you right now, everybody online that I've run into is playing with the ghost piece, which will mean you will get your butt kicked a lot if you're not using the ghost piece. However, there is some light at the end of the tunnel because as soon as you get good enough, you'll be able to beat people using the ghost piece anyway. And while it may not help your bottom line and won't help your online score very much to get your butt kicked until you get good enough to do that, you do have the satisfaction knowing you're not cheating when you play. So, to me, that's probably the most unleveling piece of the entire game, and there's no way for both people to agree we're not going to play with ghost piece.
Some people may argue with you saying that it's cheating since Nintendo's specifically included that as a genuine option in the game.
Well, let's put it this way. There should be a methodology. It wouldn't be cheating if both players could agree on yes or no on the ghost piece.
Yeah.
But personal preference being on or off allows one person to have an advantage over the other one.
Yeah.
And you don't even really know if they're using the ghost piece other than the fact that they're dropping pieces
Right.
3 times faster than you.
Yeah, I mean, anybody could turn around and say, hey, I'm not using the ghost piece, and really they are. So it's not going to really help you in the long run.
Yeah, I would like to have, I would
personally
like to
don't
have
use
had
it.
that.
Drives me crazy.
Yeah, the ghost piece drives me bonkers. I would rather lose and not use the ghost piece than to win with the ghost piece, but that's just me.
Yeah.
A lot of people love the ghost piece. I personally hate it. But
Luckily, you can turn that off in the options. That is one of the things you can turn off. The other thing you can turn off also is the instant drop. Pushing up on the D-pad will actually instantly drop the piece into the slot below. Sometimes I accidentally hit it, and it really throws me off. You can also turn that off. But at the same time, just like the ghost piece, you can't really turn it off because everybody else is going to be using it.
Yeah.
And, that unfortunately, when it comes to the instant drop, when you hold the piece down to drop it at the slower pace, another person could have dropped 3 or 4 pieces in the long term.
Yeah.
So you're screwed because that person's could be getting a Tetris over to you way beforehand, before you even dropped your first piece, and it could really screw you over.
Yeah,
so
it's a crying shame.
A couple little things like that really do bother you. I mean, I think that and the fact, as we said, that you can't fill in that other player. You have to have 4 players, a multiplayer. Those are probably the only cons to this game overall.
Yeah, I would say that's probably
It's
accurate.
not a flawless product, unfortunately.
Not flawless, but it's really damn good.
One other thing, real fast, and we've already kind of mentioned it, but I want to include it with the body of the review, is when you play multiplayer, you get this little flashing dot that bounces around. That's going to be kind of randomly jumping around. That will indicate where your blocks go during multiplayer.
Yeah, it's a
Took me
lot like
while to figure
Medios.
that out. Yeah.
It's a lot like Medios where you can see the other player's screens, and wherever there's a glowing dot on it or a little target scope, that's where your blocks are being sent. And don't think that that's not useful, because when you're playing in a 3 or 4 or 5 person game, the idea is to eliminate as many people as you can as quickly as you can. It takes the random element out of it and lets you concentrate on the better player.
Right.
So when you're getting ready to throw that Tetris down, getting ready to do that hard drop to bring the 4 block piece in for a Tetris, watch the bouncing ball. Watch the bouncing target and target somebody who it's going to hurt more to send them that Tetris than to send somebody else the Tetris.
The only problem with that is, and I know, like my father brought this up, was it really kind of ruins it a bit because that person could get ganged up on, It kind of throws it out of the loop a little bit. Because then everybody could focus on that guy, and like 5 seconds later, the game's over.
The good news is, though, is you can't choose where the target goes. Like, I think on Medios you can. You could all, gang up on somebody.
Yeah.
And all send Medios to them. In this case, it's always bouncing. It's always in flux. So you have to wait. If you really want to target somebody, you have to wait. You have to leave yourself exposed. So there's sort of a trade-off there.
Yeah.
But I definitely recommend looking at how it works because it can give you a competitive advantage online. And you're going to need it because just because you might not think it's sporting or moral,
somebody else certainly doesn't.
Trust me, the people online are going to play cutthroat. I've been ganged up on a million times. Literally, the game is truly over for me in like 15 seconds online, playing the 4-player with weapons because people do target you. And I swear that people know each other and they're all targeting you at the same time. I know that's not true, but
yeah,
that seems to be the way it goes. Oh, the other thing, too, I wanted to mention is in local area play only. When you're playing with, say, 4, 5, 6 people locally and you lose, despite the fact that you lose, you can still keep playing. It doesn't affect the other players. You've technically lost. But the game will continue to play in the background, and you can sit there and amuse yourself while you're waiting for everybody else to slaughter each other. That's really cool. It does not work online. It only works in the local area play, multiplayer.
So, anyway, closing this up, what do you get it? I think I kind of know your answer, but go ahead.
Oh, Stylus Up by me, man.
Yep, Stylus Up.
This game has totally ruined my life. That's all I play. It's the best game for Twitch gamers like me. I can drop into bed and play a game before my wife hits the bed. I can sit on the crapper and get 3 or 4 games out of the way. I can literally take a break from working, the traditional smoke break, and we can throw down a whole ton of games in a very short period of time. So it's got that instant gratification feel. It's very quick and easy to get a human to play. I think that's probably the best. With Mario Kart, you had to wait. I mean, there was no way that you could take a 5-minute break, hop online on Wi-Fi, get 3 other people, and be able to throw down. It just doesn't happen in 5 minutes. On
it's
Tetris,
just so much easier just to pop it in and play and go, and that's the problem. It makes all the other games harder to play because you're always reaching for it. So. And
Tetris is perfect because literally in 5 minutes I could probably have 3 online games with somebody in standard 2-person no weapon mode.
You always got that one more type of thought going on with this game.
Yeah. Oh, and there's one other bad thing, I guess, before we tally off here. There's if one of the players drops in a multiplayer mode where you're playing online and Wi-Fi, if somebody drops off, the entire game ends after the current round. So if you have 3 people on and you're playing, a guy loses and he drops. As soon as that round is over, everybody drops off. There's no way to continue playing with just the remaining players.
All right.
That sucks. That is probably one of the all-time weakest parts of the game as well. So I just remembered that. Otherwise, I'd have thrown it into the body.
Yeah, that's one of the other little unfortunate things. But you know what? In the long run, if you're a fan of Tetris, this is the one to get.
This is it.
Bottom line.
Bottom line. I haven't had this much fun since the original Game Boy Black and White Tetris. It's beautiful. Beautiful game.
All right. So I guess that wraps up the Tetris review.
Yes.
I urge everybody to go check it out. And just for one more quick little tip, avoid getting it at EB Games or GameStop where they're selling it for $5 more than everybody else.
Yep. You can look around and get yourself a $5 deal without a problem.
Right. Easy.
Crazy stuff. Yeah. Got to save the bucks because there's more crap coming in the coming month that you're going to have. If you save $5 on 4 games, that's $20. That's enough to get Brain Age.
Dude, I'll take anything I can get because my habit is just going to keep going.
I know. Going. I feel like a junkie. I feel like I'm slapping my arm looking for a Tetris cartridge to stick into it.
And this is going to be such a big year, too. I mean, especially after E3. So.
Man, I can't wait. What's coming? This month has some unbelievable titles out. For the month of April, I'm going to go crazy, man. Literally, one of the things I've been waiting for forever is, of course, Brain Age, Train Your Brain in minutes a day. That comes out on the 17th, and I know Chris is dying to play it, dying to have it, too.
Oh, we were just playing the demo. It's a lot of fun. Just even the demo is like hardly anything.
It's very limited.
It doesn't give you a squat of a chance to really even try the game, but you barely get an idea of what it is. Luckily, if you've read articles about the game, you kind of have more of an idea. But if I was to lump this on somebody like I did last night with my father, I mean, it would kind of been like, what is this? You really don't get much to do in it.
Yeah.
It's not much of a demo.
It's a real basic demo, but I'll tell you what, I'm drooling for it. I mean.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't understand the concept, but we'll talk more about it when we do a review on it.
Just think about it as an educational WarioWare.
Perfect. Again, Chris manages to simplify the most complicated concept. Greatest hits Tetris, and WarioWare, I love it. Now, what do you know about Guilty Gear? Do you know anything about that? I know that's a franchise.
Yeah, well, the first time I played it was back on the original PlayStation. The PS1 is now they call it. I used to call it the PSX, but that's beyond the point. Guilty Gear was a pretty neat little game. At the time, it was really well known for its 2D animation.
Is it a fighting game? Or
yeah,
what is that?
Yeah, it's basically just your run-of-the-mill fighting games. You got a few extra little things going on in there. You got this meter that you can actually build up to throw off this super ability. But I haven't played it in a long time, and I'm not really much of a fighting nut as it is, so my actual knowledge on it isn't the greatest. I do remember having it, though, for the PS1. I think they released it on the Dreamcast, and I remember seeing it on there, and it was really incredible looking in terms of 2D animation. They really came over top of what Capcom and SNK were doing with their fighting games. But this looks
comes
really
out on
cool.
the 18th, so...
Yeah, this looks great because I think you can have 4 people at the same time playing, which, if I'm not mistaken, you can actually do in the recent Xbox version of it. You can actually play that on live, the Xbox Online live service. You can have 4 people at the same time. I'm thinking that's pretty much what you can do with this in multiplayer. You'll be able to play 4 people at once. Now, whether you'll be able to do single card or not, I'm not sure, but it looks like it's going to involve both screens. The playfield is going to be over 2 screens.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it's going to be really neat looking. I'm going to have to look at it. I'm not sure if it's something I'm going to run out and buy, but if I could get a chance to try it out, I'd sure be open to it.
Also on the 18th, which I have a feeling is going to totally squash both the other entries that are coming out on the 18th, is Lost Magic, which to me looks like an RTS meets RPG, which doesn't quite make sense. I kind of had to watch the videos to kind of get a sense of what the hell they were talking about. But it looks really cool. I'm going to probably pick it up. It's going to be online playable through Wi-Fi, which is always cool. I'm going to have to probably buy like every Wi-Fi game that comes out just to support the service because I'm a slut.
Yeah. Well, it looks pretty neat because it looks like on the Wi-Fi you're going to be able to, I guess, have a wizard battle, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah, it looks like a closed, sort of a small arena battle mode, which that's going to be way cool. I mean, this has I get this confused with another one of these RPGs.
Talos Adventure.
Yeah, this is the one I do believe that while you're playing, or Tale of the Tempest, I can't remember. This one I think you trace runes to cast spells.
Yeah,
you can do it in real time.
Yeah, you got to actually draw the symbol for a spell to cast it, and I think that's the whole.
That stuff, man.
I think that's the whole the gameplay involved in that is that you got to remember what each spell is. When you cast it, you got to remember the way to draw things. Just like, this kind of reminds me back in the old Commodore 64 days, of what Bard's Tale. I used to have to sit there, so I wouldn't have to open up the book every time. You'd have to remember the names for all the little spells.
Right, the little icons.
Well, they would have, no, it wasn't even icons. They were words. You had to remember the words to type.
Yeah, but they were like symbolic. They were like symbolic
words. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, they did the same thing with Draken was like that too, where you had all these spells, but they were all basically like in glyph format. So it's like, oh crap.
Yeah.
It's like playing. It's like, you know what it's like? It's like playing a Japanese game where you can't read anything. It's just like looking at gibberish. You just have to keep pointing and clicking to guess it. Yeah.
Or you got to remember the gibberish.
You got to remember the gibberish from game to game. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's come out on the 18th. And Top Gun, which boy, I'll tell you what, was it Nintendo Power that just literally shot that plane down like right off the cuff. But the videos that I've seen of it, I've seen of it look like Afterburner meets F-15 Strike Eagle 2. And if that's the case, I'm totally into it. We'll see. That comes out on the 18th as well. So expect that to be
18th is a big day. That whole week's a big week.
It's a huge week.
Brain Age, you got Brain Age, Guilty Gear, Lost Magic, Top Gun, and God only knows what else is going to maybe sneak in there in the meantime.
Yeah, when we're not looking. And then, of course, World Cup FIFA 2006. That's on the 24th.
Yeah, I think it's basically, I haven't really seen a lot of information about it yet. There might be some screenshots. I'm actually going to check into that. I know when I looked last week, they really didn't have a whole lot going for it except for the box art. But if it's anything to be expect anyway, is it's going to be, in the past, EA used to come out with these things. They basically take the same game engine, basically the same game. You might get one or two little tweaks, but it's not a full up-and-up update. It's probably just going to be the original FIFA 06 that has been out on the DS since October, but with an updated roster to reflect on the World Cup. Or
I'd
just
say that's probably a safe bet.
Yeah, they're just going to update it for what the World Cup's going to be. I wouldn't expect too much outside of some roster changes maybe and some just overall different menus and music, but that's probably more or less going to be the same game. It's a shame they couldn't just take a few minutes to add Wi-Fi. If it had Wi-Fi, it'd be all over it. But
a few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, come on. It's EA.
How hard can that be? You just throw it in there.
Yeah, I mean, you just need, add the language, whatever you need to do to put it on Wi-Fi. Add a little lobby.
Pound Wi-Fi, yeah.
I don't need a whole lot of things, man. Just give me friends list. I can hook up with my dad or something, and we can play online. It'd be fantastic. I'd be playing this all the time. So hopefully FIFA 07 will be adding Wi-Fi, but it's EA, so who knows? They're in their own little world, it seems.
They
it's
do.
A shame.
They're on a different planet than the rest of us.
Yeah, so.
Some of the games that have come out in passing since our last show include Teo's Adventure, Curse of the Demon Seal, which talk about a wasted opportunity. The game almost sucked me in until I realized, holy crap, the UI is the most horrible thing I've ever used. So no matter how good the game is, if the interface sucks big time, then you've really got to ask yourself, is it worth it?
Yeah, it blows my mind. I mean, come on, you got two screens, and I'm not a game creator or anything like that, programmer or nothing. But I can tell you right now, I know ways that I would easily be able to change some of these inputs and some of these games. I mean, Zoo Tycoon right away, that was the biggest blunder for me. I bought that game, and it was totally overwhelming. I mean,
thanks for reminding me of that. Teo's Adventure is not the worst UI. Zoo Tycoon is the worst UI.
I mean, I was sitting here thinking, what would be nice is that you're going to have this touch screen, and that's going to be like, great, this is awesome. I can pick an icon and then apply that to somewhere in the zoo, like I want to make a walkway. So I can choose
like a PC version.
Yeah, I could touch the icon for a gravel walkway or what have you, and then go up there and touch it onto the map of the park of where I want to put it. Now, obviously, both screens aren't touched, but there's a simple way around this. You're telling me that these companies couldn't add a simple screen selection where you hit the select button and it just reverses the screens? I mean, how intuitive would that be? I'm going to touch the icon, hit select, or even one of the top shoulder buttons just to flip the screen back and forth, and then you can drag it. It's ridiculous. How long would that really take to implement?
No, wait. Let me. I can beat that, I think. Teo's Adventure. Unbelievable. You have two screens. You have your player on one screen, and you can bring a map up on the other screen, right? That makes sense. Like Castlevania, right? You can bring up another map. Guess what? You can't move while the map's open. You're like, what? Wait a minute, I got two screens. The map's on one screen. My player and all of its environment is around on the other screen. Why can't I move?
I guess your little character can't walk and chew gum at the same time.
I just sat there with my mouth open. I'm sitting there going, this could be so cool. I love the rune casting of the spells and everything. It's like, whatever. I would definitely wait for that to hit mega bottom bargain bin or borrow it from somebody else and check it out.
That's a shame. Because wasn't that a Konami game too? Konami's usually pretty good.
It's a crime. It's a crime when you take somebody at some point, like they showed in that PSP loading video for that wrestling thing.
Oh yeah.
Somebody over at Konami said it's okay to ship this. Somebody at Konami said, "Oh, this UI is okay. We can live with this." Give me a break. Probably the two big games that came out, just to keep moving along, the two big titles that everybody was waiting for, of course, is Tetris, as we've already droned on to death about, and also Metroid Prime Hunters, the unbelievably good-looking first-person shooter for the DS.
Really impressive stuff.
It's impressive. We're gonna completely review that on another time. I don't want to get too into that, but suffice to say, wow. That's probably the best word I have for it. Wow.
Definitely one of the big killer apps of the system.
Absolutely. You want to show it off to your PSP buddies? That's what you show them. You show them Metroid Prime Hunters.
Better yet, you want to show them a viable analog stick?
Burn! Also out already is Ice Age 2: The Meltdown, which I took a brief look at and decided no. Hey, that doesn't stop. Apparently there's some good qualities about it, so I don't want to sound totally down. But
hey, well, if anything, our listeners can count on you to at least check out the movie-based games.
I'll look at them, but it's like, God damn it, how much do you love Ice Age to put up with stuff like that?
I don't know what it is, but for me, when I see a movie-based game on a handheld, usually my flags go up.
Although I'll tell you that Pirates of the Caribbean looks all right.
You know what? That actually does look pretty decent.
Looks all right.
It looks like a little Pirate Streets of Rage action going on there.
I could get into that. If that's really what that is, I'd lose
That's
my
cool
mind.
stuff, man. Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Now, also, Narnia wasn't bad either, I guess.
I like Narnia, dude. I thought Narnia was well done, but boy, I'll tell you what, it gets blasted in reviews.
Yeah.
It's a little mini Diablo, and we need more of that. We need an actual Diablo.
Definitely.
You'll never hear from me again. There'll never be another show.
I've already got Diablo already thought up and conceptualized and everything in my head.
Yeah, you put
DS.
that on the forums. Yeah, see, that's the other reason you want to go to our forums, is we free talk about this stuff all the time. If you're really hungry between shows, go hang out at the forums, because we do a lot of the same stuff. It's not, of course, quite the same, but it's something. Also out now is Top Spin 2, which we finally figured out why there were no videos posted. See, I figured it out. With the DS, everybody knows that DS games look a lot better in person, running, in motion, than the screenshots. Well, in the case of Top Spin 2, we've been like, drooling over the screenshots since they started posting, because it looks like Virtua Tennis.
Oh, I couldn't wait for this game.
I've been dying to get a hold of this game. In fact, I bought it sight unseen. That's how confident I was that this title was going to work out.
Oh, well, do you want to tell everybody what you thought of it real fast?
Well, here, I'll give you a quickie. The game is stellar, except for one problem. As soon as the ball gets close to you, this is stupid. This is the stupidest thing ever. Somebody should be shot twice for this. As soon as the ball gets close to you, the frame rate cuts in half. So you're expected to pull off a move. I would imagine eventually you learn to compensate for this. You shouldn't have to compensate for the screen, the refresh rate, the frame rate dropping in half as the ball gets close to you. But it gets it to the point to where you can't get your technique off fast enough or properly to get return the ball, because the damn frame rates drop down.
When something like that alters your gameplay, that's just wrong.
You got to fix that. Take some of the ads off. Take some of the spectators off. Release some polygons. Cut
or
down
zoom
a couple
out
of frames of the animation. Do whatever you got to do.
Now, that's the one thing I wanted to ask you. Can you actually change your camera angles? Because I noticed in the little video you created, which I'm not sure if you're going to be putting that up or not, but you probably should just to warn everybody.
Yeah, it's up. It's actually up off of DualScreenRadio.com. It's in one of our latest news sections.
Shane actually sent me a video he took of this, because I was really dying to play this game. I thought it looked fantastic in the still photos. And I was a big fan of Virtual Tennis on the Dreamcast. And
who wasn't?
And even Top Spin on the Xbox was basically Virtual Tennis. I mean, it's not Sega, but they basically copied the thing, just like Zuma and Puzzle are copies. It's really scary. And I was dying. I was thinking, man, this is going to be great. I mean, I got my soccer, and now I can play some tennis. I'm not a big tennis fan, and I got my golf, in True Swing. And if I could play some tennis online, or not online necessarily, but multiplayer, that'd be fun. Yeah. And this looked fantastic. If it was anything like Virtua Tennis, which it did look like Virtua Tennis, it looked like a little miniature version of it, I just couldn't wait to get into this. And then he posted that video, and my hopes were just dashed, because I can't see how I'm going to get into the rhythm of hitting a ball that is smoothing over the net, and then all of a sudden comes to a stop right in front of you.
It's really sad.
It just peters out as it comes towards you. It's ridiculous. It's
like that Tales Adventure, dude. It's like.
But I noticed in your video,
possible.
In your video, your characters are really close up, and I know in a lot of the still shots they were actually farther away. Now,
and I can play with that. I mean, I was so disgusted. I mean, literally, I bought the game, I ran home, I threw it in, thinking this is going to be the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And as soon as I realized that this frame rate thing kicks off, I was crushed. I haven't played it since. Aside from to record the video, and it's just like, I'm gonna go play Tetris. I'm taking my ball and going home.
It's kind of hard to accept it, because you can't even say it's a DS thing, because look at Metroid. I mean, for crying out loud, that thing runs it's smooth as butter.
Yeah.
And there's like 50 things going on.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is just freaking tennis. You got two guys on the court.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't complicated here. So maybe that's it. Maybe you can pull the camera away or something and it fixes that. But I'll tell you, I was so distraught that I put it down and I didn't play it again. So we'll take another look at it. We'll give you a little review of it another time.
Well, in hindsight, you did a really nice job with the video, by the way.
That video turned out really good, didn't it? I watched it again yesterday when I posted it.
It was really
creepy.
Damn. It was really creepy.
That turned out pretty good.
I felt like I was a voyeur or something.
Yeah, you were. I should actually start putting. Hey, I got it. We're gonna put up a webcam of me playing DS games, and I'll charge people like $15 a month to be on there. That'd be awesome. I'm actually playing this DS naked.
I was just going to say, you're going to be taking off your shirt.
I'm going to take my shirt off. NakedDS.com. Anyway, I don't know. This episode's touch and go segment. We've got quite a few goodies here for you. It's been a very productive period since our last show, and this doesn't even include everything that's going on. It's just insane. Like we said earlier, the DS is exploding. Probably the biggest news since the last show has been the announcement and videos released of Zelda DS. What is it called? The Phantom Hourglass? Phantom Hourglass. And I'll tell you what, this was showed off at the Game Developers Conference. I wish I had a date down, but it's already passed, so who cares what the date was. And they've got a video. We're going to give you a link to check out this. Get it? We're going to give you a link to... Sorry, that was gay. It's way too early in the morning to be recording this crap. We're going to give you a link to the video clip, and I'll tell you what. I've never been a Zelda fan. I'll be completely honest. I know that's blasphemy from anybody who likes Nintendo, but never been a fan. I wasn't a fan of the original Zelda, and I've never been a fan of the new reimagined, 3D realistic graphic Zelda. But I'll tell you what, with all of the DS-centric type stuff in here, I'm going to be in.
Yeah, this looks really neat. I saw some of the video footage. It almost looks like they took the mechanics of Wind Waker and transferred them to the DS. Except you have more of an an above looking down kind of view, kind of like Animal Crossing.
Do you think this is going to be like the greatest hits version of Zelda?
I don't know about that because I like Zelda, okay, but I'm not one of these hardcore Zelda nuts that will accept it just because it's Zelda. There's a lot of guys out there that just like it because it's Zelda. I mean, I don't know what it is. I love the original Zelda is in probably my top 5 favorite games of all time.
Really?
I don't know.
Maybe I need to have another look at it because I didn't get
the original Zelda. Now that doesn't mean you're going to like it. I know we share a lot of similar likes and dislikes in terms of games, but Zelda, the original Zelda, was one of my favorites. If anything, it's either my top 5 or top 10 of favorite games. And I don't know what it is about it, but it just really sucked me in. I think it was just different based on all the other games I was playing at the time. Things like Legacy of the Ancients and Bard's Tale and Gateway to Apshai and
sort of an action adventure.
Yeah. Now Zelda 2 came along, totally different game. He totally changed it, and he made it into more of a side scroller. It almost came off like a Super Mario Brothers kind of game. So that one didn't really go over well with me. I played it, I flew through it. The original's still my favorite. But then, the Super Nintendo one came along, and that was more of what the original offered, and that was fantastic. Now, these 3D ones, I've never been able to get into the 3D games. The original Ocarina of Time, I'm going to be chastised for this. I do not like it.
Well, there you go.
I do not like the game. I respect what he was trying to do, and I understand why people like it. I personally just cannot get into it. The mechanics of it were totally ridiculous. I think a lot of the controls were kind of overwhelming. They weren't the simple control scheme that you were used to in the past. I think it was just a little over the top, and that was his whole point of trying to make an exploration. If you read anything about Shigeru Miyamoto's, just about anything about what he was trying to achieve with the Zelda game, it just kind of didn't seem the same when Ocarina of Time came out, which was on the Nintendo 64. And after that, that's all it's been has been 3D, and other than the most recent one, the Minish Cap on the Game Boy Advance.
Boy, did that take a bunch of awards or what? I didn't even play that, but
it wasn't bad. I played through it, and it wasn't the greatest. It was really easy, and it didn't help that Capcom was involved. And I think Nintendo needs to get back in there and start developing their own Zelda games.
I think that's what this is going to be, which will be cool for
them. Which is nice. I'm glad to see that because I think Capcom, they didn't do a bad game, but there's something about it. It's like what you said before. It just didn't have the soul. The soul wasn't there. And it looked like Zelda. It kind of played like Zelda, but the soul just wasn't there for it. It's hard to really pin down. It wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't great either. The original is still the best, in my opinion. And actually, this looks really good though for the DS, and I'm shocked at how it just kind of came out of nowhere. I mean,
well, we announced on the first show something about Zelda coming, but that was it. I mean, that's all you heard.
We all knew it was coming. We all knew it was coming because they're always saying that, Oh, there's going to be a planned Zelda game for the Revolution. Okay, well, come on, we know that. There's going to be a Mario game for the Revolution, things like that. There's going to be a Zelda game for the DS. Yes, we kind of expected that, but to hear that it was coming out by the end of this year was what I think blew a lot of people away.
And how complete? I mean, how much the video showed off. I mean, it showed every different aspect
really
of the DS. It was great. I mean, you're going to be blowing out fire. You're going to be writing on maps. You're going to be tracing routes for your boomerang. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's really cool. If you can use the stylus to flick your boomerang, that looks really cool.
Doesn't that look good? Literally, you guys pause the show and go watch that video.
We'll have the link on the website there. Check it out.
Yeah, and I guess the next one's to you, Point Blank on the DS.
Oh, I saw this the other week and I freaked. I said, what the heck? Point Blank on the DS? How are they going to do this? And then I realized, well, you're just going to be tapping the targets instead of shooting them. Now, I don't know if that's really going to make things any better. I know it's not going to be better, actually. It's not nearly as much fun to tap on a screen as it is to shoot the screen, in my opinion. But for something like this, which was a light gun game on the PlayStation, I had a ball with this game. Now, if it's anything at all like that...
WarioWare with a gun.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading now, that they're going to try to be adding some kind of a WarioWare-esque spin to it. So we'll see how that plays off.
They've got to recalibrate the game. They've got to make it... imagine playing Duck Hunt with a stylus.
Right. It's ridiculous.
Dude, there's no challenge to that.
Well, it's just like in MAME when you would play a gun game on there, Operation Wolf. I blew through Operation Wolf with 1 credit with the mouse. You know what I mean? It's the same idea. It's just ridiculous. I don't even bother.
Yeah, it's not going to help you.
One of my favorite games of all time, well, not all time, but one of my favorite light guns of all time was Space Gun. And when I was in MAME, I was like, wow, this is great. And I'm sitting there, I think I beat it with 2 credits. And I'm saying, there's no way. This isn't working. I was like zoning out. My eyes were glazing over because it was like, oh, there it is, click. Okay, there it is, click. And this is how it's probably going to be with this Point Blank unless they do something to the mechanics of it.
They'll do something to it. They have to.
Unless they purposely destroy the calibration of your stylus,
That would be wild. Or have your style. I don't know. We'll speculate later on when we know more.
Or unless they really screw the pooch, as you put it, and use only D-pad play. A little crossover to D-pad.
You know what? Shut the hell up, dude. Because you say that and they're going to do it. And then I'll have to kill somebody.
Oh, that was a brilliant idea. Thank you.
It's like playing Missile Command with a D-pad. Just forget about it. We like to talk. We have a ton of European listeners, a lot of UK listeners, and so we decided that we're going to try to throw into touch and go, what's out overseas? Well, for us it's overseas. For you, it's on your local shores. Finally, you guys are starting to get some decent games over there. You guys must have been losing your minds. Out now, Animal Crossing. What the hell, man? It's been out for almost a year, it seems like. What did it come out in August?
Dude,
right?
I'm already...
That's a long time, dude.
Dude, I've already been through 3 seasons.
I know, and they're just now getting it. Phoenix Wright, of course, which is going to go... You guys are going to lose your minds for Phoenix Wright. Resident Evil and Top Spin 2 came out over there. Wow. There was one other one that came out, and I knew I was going to forget about it if I didn't write it down. Rainbow Islands Revolution, which I haven't even had a chance to look at. I'm a Rainbow Islands slut, so eventually I'll get around to it. But congratulations for finally getting Animal Crossing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they're still waiting for WarioWare Twisted.
I know.
Which is one of those hidden gems, so to speak. If it's not even a hidden gem, it's only hidden because the UK people don't have a chance to play it.
I know. You will completely... Everything will be set right in the universe.
Now, once again, UK listeners, okay, you guys have your chance. You can pick up Phoenix Wright, okay? You can redeem yourselves for the top 10 involving Godfather and 50 Cent, okay? Please pick up Phoenix Wright.
Yes, don't let 50 Cent's game dominate the charts.
I mean, the UK people like to think they have a better terms of taste over, like, I guess the US.
They're listening to our show.
Yeah, unless they're playing video games, obviously, because they really need to get on the ball here.
Yeah,
I have
no
a great
more 50
respect
Cent.
for the UK
no more
and European
bulletproof
people.
or whatever that is.
Yes, let's get some Phoenix Wright on there, dudes.
The other thing, too, is if Phoenix Wright gets short-cycled over there as well, you guys are going to run out of them just like we did. So if you're at all interested in Phoenix Wright, do yourself a favor, pick it up now. You know what? And the other thing, too, is what's wrong with you guys? The exchange rate is unbelievable right now. I mean, right now I think it's almost 2-to-1 for pounds versus U.S. dollars. You guys should be cleaning up with imports. I mean, I always used to buy stuff from Australia because it was almost 2-to-1 in terms of that. But you guys have got us even beat on that. I mean, you guys are paying like 38 pounds or something like that for a game, which is like $60 our cost. No wonder nobody wants to buy games for the DS.
Yeah.
But if you order, I mean, even if you pay a $5 or $10 import fee, and you're buying, our games for $29, 29 U.S. dollars, that's like 15 pounds, right?
And they're in English, too.
And they're in English. I mean, okay, so color doesn't have a U in it. I'm sure you can get over it. I mean, I get over having a U when I do my imports from over there. So, just a little sideways. Start looking at importing. I mean, it's got to be a better deal than waiting for a 40-pound frickin' Resident Evil to come out. Okay, let's move along here. Spore, the game that I almost couldn't care about anymore. I'm just tired of hearing about it. The Will Wright evolutionary game. It's supposed to come out for like everything with a screen, basically. This is EA's new thing. Instead of actually publishing a great game for one or two systems, they're going to publish games for like everything with a screen. There's probably going to be an iPod video version of Spore out, which means I'm going to have to actually commit physical suicide or harakiri here. Anyway, that's gotten delayed apparently on the DS till 2007. No big loss to me, but I figure we better bring it up. Shigeru Iwata. See, I actually wrote down a pronunciation. Chris loves this. In my notes, for anything Japanese, I'm actually going to translate it out into phonetics so that I can actually pronounce it right. This has got to be what newscasters do for like the Middle Eastern names.
They have to.
So I've actually got Shigeru Iwata. So I'm working on it. I'm actually trying to improve myself.
It's like saying Iraq or Iraq, you know?
Iraq, yeah.
Iran. Same idea, I guess.
Iraq.
Due to some of the feedback in our forums regarding our Japanese pronunciations, we are going to try to do better with that respect.
Yeah, you know, let's be honest. I mean, the DS hails from Japan. The best games are coming from Japan. The least we can do is show a little respect and try to get the names right. So we're working on it. Give us a little time. We're going to fix it. Anyway, Shigeru's big thing at the Gaming Developers Conference, all of his keynote speeches and all that good stuff, he had one word that kept popping up, and this is going to be Nintendo's strategy over the next 2 years, 3 years, is disruption. They want to get in and disrupt what you think a video game should be, or what you think a video game controller should be, or what you think a handheld video game should be. And if you have not had an opportunity, I'm sure everybody who's listening to this has already checked it out. Go check out his keynote speech, because Shigeru and I meet eye to eye on many, many things. And it's very rare for me to find anybody, especially someone in the industry. People always say, you know, you used to hate Nintendo. How come you like them now? I mean, nothing's changed. It's like, maybe it's me. Maybe my perspective has changed. Maybe I'm finally understanding what I really want in video gaming. And I think these are the only guys who are going to be able to deliver it to me in the next, 3 to 5 years. So I would definitely check out his keynote speech, and we'll give you a link as well. And guess what? Those lucky bastards. And I don't know if they got the full version of Brain Age.
It was the full version.
Oh, you know what? This sucks.
I've seen screenshots. It's the box, everything inside.
I'm gonna lose my mind.
Inside every one of them was a personal message from Shigeru.
That just drives me crazy. I would have gone to Game Developers Conference if I'd have known that was happening.
Yeah, it was a little personal note from him, congratulating and thanking you for your interest, and it's the full game. Yes.
Yeah, everybody who went to his keynote speech, like they did an Oprah thing where you reached under your chair and there was a key to the car. You reached under your chair and there was a copy of Brain Age for you for free. I'm losing my mind, dude.
I'd rather have that than the Buick.
Hells yeah, screw frickin' Oprah Buick. Moving right along here, Magnetica, our U.S. name for Puzzloop, is officially been announced by Nintendo. We're going to get, I think it's a June 17th release date, something like that. Anyway, box art is up. It's in our database.
The box art actually looks pretty cool.
It's exactly the same.
If we could just get rid of that stupid name and logo, we'd be fine.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm going to keep calling it Puzzloop, man.
Good for you. Puzzloop it is. Anyway, there are screens. There are new U.S. screens. This is funny, dude. Did you notice that half the screens that they posted as Magnetica screens are Puzzloop screens?
Yeah.
What the hell's up with that, you lazy bastards? Anyway, so we've got some box shots, some screenshots. The new box shot is up in our database, so you don't have to look too far for that. But
yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah, it turned out pretty nice.
I have something I wanted to bring up here real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Things. I don't know if anybody's really knowledgeable of this. I only heard of it. I figured some people might be interested to know that. Recently, Nintendo of Europe actually had an interview with the guy who created Seaman on the no jokes, please, on the Sega Dreamcast. And recently, he's releasing this game on the GameCube called Odama, which looks like some kind of feudal Japan pinball game. It's really strange. Okay, needless to say, this man is into these strange and different games. I'm going to try pronouncing his name here. Let's see. Yolt Saito.
Yeah, you probably got better than I would have done.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying. He is coming out with a game for the Nintendo DS that's going to be using the microphone and the Wi-Fi. So people who had any kind of interest in Seaman might be really interested in hearing about that, because I could actually see this working on the DS with the microphone and everything. I mean, everything's built in. I mean, if he even ported Seaman over, it was an interesting experiment anyway. So I just wanted to throw that out there for everybody who might have been interested. One of the 5 to 10 players that actually tried Seaman out. It was a weird game with a fish with the voice of Leonard Nimoy and a microphone. So
there you go.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to bring up real fast is in the newest issue of Nintendo Power, which I just got yesterday. Everybody seems to have had it for weeks now, except for me. There's a whole huge article, great article about the new Super Mario Brothers, and according to this, it's going to have 80 levels to this game, which I think is astounding. So I assume that's going to be 10 levels with 8 sub-levels each.
It's going to be awesome, man.
That's going to be a lot of play time in there, man. I can't wait to play that, especially now that I'm done Princess Peach, and I pretty much hoarded my way through that game. And,
Chris and I had sort of a running competition going with Princess Peach. Every day we'd be trying to keep tabs on where the other person was. Good game.
Yeah, I had to provide some strategy guide help for Shane here with the.
For those of you wondering, I'm going to give him a little helpful hint, because I don't know why it did never occur to me, but there's a couple of levels. I think it's like on World 2 or Level 2.
Yeah,
there's
a
couple
like
of places
2 or something like that.
Yeah, there's a couple of places where you can't find the last toad because it's hidden somewhere that you can't even see it, and you have to like use your crying bitch fit on these, I guess, what do they call those, water wheels?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like these like the old things on the back of paddle wheels. You have to cry on those to rotate the paddle boats, and for me it looked like background graphics. I never once thought to cry on those things. But those are where I found my last 2 toads. I cleared the whole game all the way to the end to go fight Bowser, and I couldn't finish because I had 2 stupid toads that were being protected behind that stupid water wheel. Whatever. So anyway, there's your hint. You don't have to go find the walkthrough now.
But thanks to the Super Princess Peach master over here,
yes,
I was able to help Shane go through this game, and he managed to unlock everything thanks to me. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Chris, for
You're welcome.
Showing off your supreme prowess.
I'm just glad to see my platforming skills are still apparent.
That's funny. I'm just gonna say that you were better at a girls' game than I was. Yeah. And last but not least, in Touch and Go, a while back, and this is something that falls into sort of the gray side of things. So I wasn't originally going to talk about it, but I thought I'd better. Originally, somebody compiled a bunch of demos from E3 last year, and they put it into a single Nintendo DS ROM that you could actually play on. If you had like a SuperCard or a Flash card or something like that, one of those legally gray things, that you could actually play all of the demos at E3. Now, is it illegal to play demos? I don't know. I don't even want to go into the morality of it. But suffice to say, that page finally got updated, and they moved it over to a wiki-style page, and it's called the DS Demo Wiki page. Amazingly, how appropriate. Anyway, they have demos, including the one of Brain Age, the one that just came out, the demo of that. So if you have one of those type devices, don't ask us how to do it. Don't ask us where to buy the devices. That's not what we're here for. We're not going to talk about that. But if you do have one of these types of devices, there are tons of games, including like Electroplankton, and tons of other demo versions that you can play right from this webpage. Yeah, obviously you have to get it to your DS somehow, but that's your problem. But that's pretty cool. So they've updated that page, and I ran across that totally by accident. It's like, damn, I got to let people know about this. This is cool.
Yeah, the table hockey. I mean, that's really neat.
That's fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, now that I got my monkey hockey.
You got your monkey on, yeah.
I don't really need it, but it's good stuff.
Man. Okay, let's do some site updates and call it a day. There's some good stuff going on the website. We have a whole friend code system now, so no more going to the webs, no more going to the forums and posting your friend codes, blah blah blah. Everything's databased. You log into the dualscreenradio.com. You can post all your friend codes. You can pull a game up of everybody's friend code, and an applet starts on the page that kicks you into a Dalnet chat room that you guys can coordinate and play your online games. It's absolutely great. If I do say so myself, I'm going to break my arm patting myself on the back here.
It's a good idea, dude.
It's a good idea.
It's great.
It still needs a little bit of finesse. I mean, the lists are starting to get kind of long, but we're going to come up with a good solution for that. And it really makes an interesting friend system. I mean, a lot of people already signed up on the forum, so you don't have to sign up again for DualScreenRadio.com. Just use your forum name and password. Good stuff. You can also track all of your lists. You can track your owned list. You can track your wish list. And we also have a watching list. And this is kind of cool. It's nothing new, of course, but if you were interested in, say, Magnetica, you could go ahead and add Magnetica to your watch list. And anytime we touch that entry, if we change the number of players or we add new box art or whatever, you'll get an email notification, that'll tell you, hey, this game has been changed. If you want to go see it, click here. And it'll give you the updates and changes to that item. So we're really trying to make this a full-service DS community portal, because while we want you to listen to the show, while we want you to support, our mirrors, which we almost forgot once again to mention, while we want you to support these folks, we also, want to provide you with a good service. And I think that part of being a good DS community is having good, reliable mirrors like Indie Gamers in the UK is providing one of our... They're in the UK, right? Indie Gamers is in the UK.
Yeah, as far as I know, yes.
Yeah, so I think both of our mirrors are in the UK, aren't they? James IT
yes.
Solutions, I think,
I
is
know
also...
he is. Yes.
Yeah, James IT Solutions is our other mirror. And so those guys have been tirelessly providing us with mirrors to make sure you guys get the show.
UK guys are the greatest.
Yeah, these guys are the best, and we really appreciate that, especially when we were getting started and we didn't have any place to host the show. I mean, we were trying to figure out, we got this great show, and now we don't know how the hell we're going to host it. But now, of course, we've got media casting going on now. That's, I guess, something new from the last show, right? Is that new from the last show? Did we mention that in the last show?
I believe
it shows what happens when we've been gone for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we did. We did mention that on the last show, yes.
So we have a media casting server now, so we have, mirrors there. But these guys really came forward and said, hey, one guy I think even paid extra money so that he could host the show to increase his quota. And, that's more than we could ask. You guys are the best.
You're the bomb, dudes. You're the bomb.
You the bomb, yo. Dog. Anyway, so it's important that we mention that, and we don't have sponsors, we don't have ad banners or anything like that. What we do hope are the people that do cast the show and have it delivered to them instead of coming to the site to get it. We do hope that you guys take a moment and come over to the site periodically, because we're adding stuff like every week to this site.
The site is beautiful.
And it's really becoming a hub. That's where I spend all my time. If I want to get online and play Tetris, I hop on, I go to the Tetris friend page, and I see who's sitting there chatting.
Yeah, that's great, because I like, not to throw it off too much, but the other week I was playing with one of the forum guys, Campacho, and if that's how you say your name.
Sorry if it's not.
But I'm so stuck in this Japanese pronunciation. But we had a ball. We were playing that for a little while, and I got my butt kicked, but that's okay. It's fun. And, it just reminded me, I have to go. I never really finished putting in all my ID codes, my friend IDs. I got to go and do that. I have my Tetris one in there, but I got to add my other ones. This is great, especially
it's
for
so
Tetris.
Quick and easy to just add people's codes there. You don't have to look them up one at a time. You don't have to scroll through
There's
the
a lot of
message
people on
form.
here now.
Yeah, there are. It's growing like mad.
It's fantastic.
Which is why I'm going to have to come up with something a little more robust, because everything is so, it's getting so big. But anyway, so, the site's growing by leaps and bounds. Our database is almost complete. We follow some of the most obscure crap and get it in our database, so you know what's coming. Superman Returns, there's nothing available on that yet, but we do have an entry for it, and we are going to track it. So come over to the site.
I'm scared of that game.
Dude, I know. I haven't seen a good Superman game since the 2600 game, dude, and I'm just, I don't know. I'm freaked out about it.
The old Nintendo game version of Superman wasn't that great either. I think you couldn't even really fly. You had to walk around the street beating people.
Yeah, remember that's what the 2600 version was. You walked around the street, and when you hit a telephone booth, you turn into Superman.
Yeah, there hasn't been any. You know what? No, you know what? There is a good Superman game. Remember the old arcade one, the Taito Superman?
Oh, is that the one where you had to punch through the?
You could hold down the punch button and you'd make a little ball of fire.
That was okay. That felt
I thought that was pretty
honestly,
cool.
That felt a little Japanese to me. No offense. Just
no, I know, but it's,
you know what I mean.
Superman's an American thing, and that's I don't know though. It was still good. I liked it. I thought that was a cool game. I actually just played that in the arcade recently.
It's one of those games the Taito version to me was like, you could put anybody in that spot. You could make this Superman. You could make this Green Lantern. Literally, to me, it felt like an engine that they happened to, skin with Superman. I don't know how you get around that, but we'll see. I mean, Superman Returns, not to sidetrack off on actually like movie crap, but Superman Returns looks like it's going to be an okay flick.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. I mean, they've got a lot to live up to, but they're all really like.
Kevin Spacey looks great though, covering up for.
Oh man, doesn't he look good?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Kevin Spacey.
It's really good.
And the guy that's playing Clark Kent, Superman, I like him. I think he looks good. Now, whether he can act or not is another story, but he looks like Superman. If you could take, Christopher Reeve alive and younger, then he'd kind of look like that. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Enough movie talk. Anyway, well, we managed to get through a whole episode. Very nice.
Yeah, and we'll hopefully be back a lot sooner than...
We'll be back a lot sooner
from
next
now.
time. Yeah, no more month between shows crap. Anyway,
we had a lot of people making sure they pointed out that we haven't had a show since the 7th of March.
What is this, digital crack or what? I mean, it's like, man, when are you guys going to have another show, man? I need a fix. Like, dude, simmer down now.
Well, I think what happened was, we had the only reason that we waited until this long to get some email from people complaining was the fact that our shows were, getting to be a couple hours long, and I guess people finally ran through the course of them, and
yeah.
It just reached.
Some people say they ran through them many times. It's like I'm not sure I could listen to the same show more than once or twice at the most. But yeah, I guess if you got a long commute, dude, you do what you got to do.
Yeah, it's definitely good for a long commute.
Absolutely. Well, let's wrap this up. We've plugged the mirrors, which is good. We don't have anything else to plug that I know of. So this is Shane R. Monroe.
This is Chris Angel.
And saying until next time,
sayonara.
Sayonara. And listening is good. You almost forgot the tagline, Chris.
Well, I wanted to throw my Japanese pronunciation in there.
Okay, good enough. All right, guys, we will see you next episode.